That's why you
Really?
can't wash it till tomorrow morning.
No
so-
conservation.
Oh, no, we had to wait like 3 days and it was.
Oh.
They don't need to go to the conservation hearing.
Okay.
They need to go for the setbacks. Limit property line setbacks. Because they're not proposing to build anything.
It's also 6 months, they do double sticks.
I know, right?
Yes, yeah,
There's
so,
so
yeah.
many things.
So they're gonna use those, they're not gonna build anything, because,
But
you
it
know,
come
it's a
in
pretty
for
wet lot, they really
another-
can't do much
I
with
love an
it.
updated.
I got an
So when
email
Dave
Joel
Garvey told me
said
he had it sold, I said,
they-
oh, who'd you sell it to? He
30
goes,
grand less.
you didn't talk to them, I said, I know, because if I did, they wouldn't be buying it.
And then I updated,
Because
Dave,
it's probably was gonna be, because it was,
Tell them what they
for-
can and can't do with the property.
Yeah, we.
Because that's what
I can't, however it came out,
Make it really obvious.
we only,
Well,
Wet soil lines
the
are.
biggest problem I have right now
TFRN
is I don't
did sketch
know
for
how the
Dave
money's
Garvey.
been paid out.
And it showed the wetland.
Because we just got
crossing,
that
and it
extra
showed the
1
local
week, so
area
that's
through
where I'm
the wetland crossing.
confused.
So anybody who
It's
knew
5,
they
so
needed to get a
what do you guys
wetland
wanna do?
crossing. So he
No,
didn't do
no.
I
anything.
think we should do a second, I think it's fine.
Not-
Got it. 5 o'clock.
Huge.
I'll let you know in a second.
Yes.
I would actually.
You're welcome.
Yeah, in case you forget who you are.
Oh, good, thank you.
All right, it's 5 o'clock in the town of Lee, and we are working on our financial planning tool on this lovely January 8th of 2024. I will pass it over to John Town. Yes, you absolutely should. Microphones are fabulous.
Okay, we're working on version 0.07. I sent out 0.06 this afternoon. The only change from what I sent out that I made on 07 is I tweaked the current year interest rate a little bit. It was 4.5. It looks like 4.6 is comfortable for this year. Right now, we're comfortably above that, and we're at 4.84. I expect by the end of the year, we might be down to 4.44. And
Is that for the just general interest rate or the bond interest rate?
no, that's for what we're earning on the deposits,
Got it. Thank you.
on the trust and reserve funds. And as used in the spreadsheet, it makes the assumption that the money is there at the beginning of the year and it stays there through the entire year.
Great, thank you.
But of course,
That's not how
that's not quite how it works, but it looks like even something a little higher than 4.6 would still work. That's what shows up here, 4.6. And the next one that has, I don't know where you want to go to, if you want to look at the biggest updates first,
Sure.
which was highway equipment. And the first line item is actually already entered for the truck that's going to be replaced. This entry is what really should appear once the truck is replaced. And that's model year 2025 Western Star. That's truck T3, it would be new. It's a replacement for the 1996 International 4900, which was a used truck. That's going to happen fiscal year 2025, and the town's cost is $46,412. And just to emphasize what that bond is, that our grant is saving us, the full cost of the truck is $232,059, and we're saving $185,647 on each truck. So the truck ends up costing us $46,411.80.
Great.
And that's both for what was T3, truck T3, and also shows up down here again, truck T1, which is going to be a replacement for the 2001 International 4900, which was also a used truck. Happens in the same year, same price. Other changes to this, the front-end loader with attachments, which was going to be purchased in 2025. Steve has decided to postpone that to 2026 because that loader is a type with an engine that would also qualify for this type of grant. And so instead of buying it next year, apply for the grant, and maybe it also gets the grant. That's a $200,000 item, 3/4 of it out of highway, $150,000, and 1/4 of it comes from transfer station because the highway equipment loader gets shifted to the transfer station. So that change was also made in the transfer station to show it 2026.
I have a question.
Yeah.
It's my understanding, like with the trucks, I don't know if it's the same thing with the loader, but if we participate in this, that loader gets in essence trashed. So how's it going to the transfer station?
We trash the dresser that's in the transfer station.
Oh, so you kind of switch it?
Mhm.
They allow you to do that?
They said they would in this case.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Any questions on this?
I think, well, just so we know, what we're discussing is the possibility of an electric vehicle, is that correct? That's what we're talking about? Front end?
No, that's a skid steer, this is a loader.
Got it, okay, so that's another option down the road.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that will be behind the meter, so there will be no costs for fueling it after that. Okay, good.
The transfer station, the same change was made for that loader, and then the other change was just very minor. The skid steer that was purchased, that was expected to cost $55,000, is actually $100 less. And those are the changes from, the other change, and this one I see is perhaps not correct, is in the town cost of the office building. So the office building had been shown as a total of 1.5 million. Last I heard it was 1.7, but now I see it's a slightly different number. And at the time that I entered this, that 600,000 is the maximum that could be taken, maximum, nice number, rounded down, that could be taken out of the fund. And the 1.1, I now see what's in the warrant article list. That 1.1 is a little bit larger than the actual number right now.
So my question is, where did those numbers come from? They're in the FY 2024 cost column.
All of the,
These two right here, where did they come from?
those are fiscal year 2024 costs.
So
So if it costs, because you were talking about a bond for 1.7 million in fiscal year 2025, that would mean this year's fiscal cost is 1,032,844. And when you go to 2025, it's back to the 1.1.
They just make it work.
And that, I did change after your last meeting, I moved that 600,000, or basically taken it out of the 1.7 on the warrant article. So that's why it shows that.
Great.
Which I think that number is going to change, I think, after we go through this, but we'll see.
You may want to put it back.
Yeah.
These numbers are yours to change. But this column shows all of the amounts in fiscal year 2024 cost.
Okay.
So if it's an estimate like this one from 2021, it's 7,500, 2024, it escalates that to that number.
Okay.
And it goes both ways.
guess my issue is what's showing up here on the warrant is this tweaked number. Well, it looks kind of tweaked. 1,086,500, so I assume that's just a placeholder because that's going to change too.
Right, that was the amount minus what you had in the building fund.
A caveat here on this spreadsheet, this was written as, and is, both town buildings and town hall. And at the time that this was first created, the rationale for that was town hall renovation was the next thing coming. And town hall renovation can be done from town hall capital reserve fund or town buildings. And to date, there's only been one deposit into the town hall renovation. That was 50,000, and currently it's up to about 55. So that means that there's, in these numbers that are shown, there's 55,000 that cannot be used for anything other than the town hall.
Okay. Do you want to work on this, or do you want to keep going through?
I mean, I think there's some updates, right? So we have, I'm mostly concerned with the 24 and the 25. Did the things that were supposed to happen in fiscal year 24 actually happen? And are these the right values? Especially the ones coming out of the fund and out of the budget? And are the ones that are listed as fiscal year 25 still things we're looking at doing? So Andy, I know you sent us a list of some updates, or any of them, you said the town hall boiler had been replaced already, and that was on for a different year. Which I think, I'm not sure which boiler it was, I was a little confused. Is it the town hall annex boiler that you said was replaced?
Had we done that one, Steve?
I can't see where that is.
Come on up,
My
come
eyes
on,
are-
you can
my
be
eyes are
Denise.
not that
You could
good.
hang out with us.
So is it line 13? Is it that one that was replaced?
That's the town hall annex.
That's Karen's old office, that has not been replaced.
Okay,
The one in the town hall has been replaced, that would be line
That would be
37.
this one.
okay, all right, so that was
But
not,
that's the
So that's-
2043 estimate.
right, so that was,
That's when it's expected to be replaced again.
okay,
But it was replaced at that price.
okay. So do we know if these energy updates happened? I know they're coming out of ARPA, but,
We've done a bunch, but we haven't spent anywhere near that amount of money.
okay. How about the shed?
We haven't done that because I wasn't sure where we were at ARPA spending wise, so we haven't done.
Okay,
I didn't want to spend it and then figure out that,
you can't?
Just to solve that mystery, we have about a little over $58,000 in ARPA funding. There may be a little more than that left. There's some discrepancy with the auditors about how that was previously accounted for. They told me I was safe to use 58,200
Okay.
as a balance, and that it might be more.
And how much have we set aside for things like that?
We haven't formally set
Okay.
anything aside at this point.
And then, oh, sorry.
Can you scroll up, John?
sorry.
So I guess I'm confused then. So if we're safe to spend $58,000, like this 8,000 that's already earmarked, have we paid any of that 8,000 with the ARPA already?
Maybe like $1,000.
Yeah, we had done some minor things probably over a year ago, probably.
Yeah, so like the sensors in here was part of it.
But that was last year before.
Yeah, we just, and then,
So that's already taken out of, like that's
Right,
before the
that's-
58.
It is.
So I guess that's my question. Is there any of that 58 that we already have like spent and are just waiting for the bill?
No,
I haven't done anything like that in a while.
we haven't earmarked
So what,
anything.
what about the windows that we talked about before? Is that something, I know that Eversource is really interested in working on that because it's a project that can do a lot and they don't have to replace the actual windows, just the exterior, and they were willing to talk to us about that. Have we been in touch?
I have not been in touch with
Okay.
them, so it's not the one.
I would definitely talk to Mark, do you think, with New Hampshire Saves. And he was very interested when we mentioned it to him, and it might be that they would cover enough that that funding could help, and then that would bring the cost of heating and cooling this building down, because those are rotten, right? All
The
around.
outsides are- Some of the building have wood in
So
them.
Pay someone to do that.
basically, so 13,870 has been committed, those two first lines, 1 and 2. That means there's like 45,000 left over
I
that we
think.
could use.
And this shows you the total for this worksheet and then the total for all. So on all the other worksheets, there are no other ARPA twos listed. There was, extra one had been turned into an ARPA two spreadsheet, but as things were done, that was taken off. This tool is really not a good tool for tracking something like the ARPA funding. It makes you do some cumbersome things.
Right,
working
you don't need
against
to.
what it's trying to
You
do.
just need a list. All right. So those can come off of the funding from the spreadsheet and no longer be part of the conversation if they're gonna be approved.
They're listed as coming from ARPA two.
Yeah,
So the wall-
So they don't contribute to this number at all.
right.
I think it all got put on because when we started doing it, we had a million things to do. And we've done a lot of them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, I understand. So things coming out of this fund, we have line number 7, which is the window door frame replacement in fiscal year '24. We had thought to take $25,000 out of this fund to pay for it. Are we still thinking to do that? Has any of it been done?
No,
And that, is that what you were talking about with working with Eversource?
correct. They would help us with the funding on that.
So I don't see this happening in this fiscal year. Do you see that happening in this fiscal year?
It depends on how quickly we did it and if we could use, if we used ARPA
I
money for it.
haven't done anything with it because I didn't know where, if we were, how it was gonna get paid for. I'd asked, or I had stated that I was just waiting to be told how it was being paid for and I'd move forward, but I hadn't really gotten an answer.
I think we.
It could happen in this fiscal year.
Could it, is it?
It could happen as soon as,
We get the yes.
as soon as I get money, I can start
Right.
trying to get it done. It could happen in a month.
How, but that was gonna be a lot more than we thought, than $25,000. Or do you
Yeah.
think we could do it for all that? Because wasn't it like $1,000 a window?
Yeah, I think that was a lot of cost and that was some of us doing it, but
But if we get help from New Hampshire Saves, and then we get them to do the work, that doesn't take away from our staff. And then we can use that money, the New Hampshire Saves money, and then some ARPA money, and get it done.
So why don't we change its source from F to A2?
Are we agreeing to go forward, just so we have a firm commitment that Steve can know about and Andy can know about, and they can make that decision to communicate with our partners?
Yes.
Great. All in favor, yes. So that's perfect, you can go forward.
I also think that we've already kind of agreed on the cemetery shed.
Yep,
Mhm.
that can go
And
forward.
up to $7,000 more in energy upgrades.
Correct.
We may have that ARPA money.
So that's all good to go. And this energy upgrades, 7,000 could go towards the windows if we found ourselves in a pinch.
yeah, so like I know we put a new door in the back of my shop,
Yeah, that's great.
that we bought a while ago, but, and then, so that got put in, so that also helped,
She's proud.
so snow doesn't blow through the doors anymore.
Oh, it's really.
Because I saw the email, you had a bunch more questions too.
I know I have all the questions. Are we still thinking to paint the tool shed and replace the tool shed roof, both of which are supposed to come out of this fund?
The tool shed, I think, would have to be a renovation. That would be like an actual plan, and we probably want to do it with historical work and all that, so that should be pushed out, don't you think? Is that, that's the same
How
tool
much
shed, the
money
whole
did it
shed?
cost to take the
Pushed
lead
over?
paint off the,
You what?
Pushed over?
Don't start choking, Karen.
well, how much did it cost to take the lead paint off the library? and they're part of the project, because it's not gonna be much more.
I don't know.
And just,
The
it'd
tool-
give you a better price than just the educated, or the plain guest that he has there.
The tool shed has no incredible importance other than historically to the town, and it's not vital for the functioning. So what I would love to do is push it back a few years, so there's time to do the work historically and make sure we're taking care of the buildings we actually are using with that money.
If we don't do this year though, is like it gonna start leaking and ruining the things inside the
There's
building?
nothing in it that's really gonna get destroyed.
The
There's a generator in it, but that generator's got a homemade shed on the trailer over it with a metal roof, so there's a roof
There you
inside a
go.
roof, so.
So it's not a priority.
We have cases of Lysol wipes. That's the
Okay.
other major commodity in there.
It's pretty much a cold storage building, there's not anything in
Why
it
don't you
really.
move 8 and 9 out to 2026?
Great.
Next.
Next, so next thing coming out of this fund then is line 10. The roof and highway spreader hangers. We're looking at still doing that from funding in 2025. And do you think that this educated guess is anywhere close to the correct number?
Well, that number was with us building it, so yeah.
Okay, and that, I assume that needs to be done.
Right now, 2 spreaders get hung, 3 of them get taken apart and put on the ground and sit on
Would
pieces
you,
of wood or pieces of concrete.
you would need something different then?
We'd have to build 3 more hangers and then put a roof over them, and the reason we put a roof over them is to keep the water off
Right.
the chains and the metal.
So the sooner you could do that, the better, because it's a huge hassle right now, correct?
Yeah, it's not ideal having to take the chutes off the spreaders and set them on the ground.
Right. So that shouldn't be the soonest year, which is 2025 at this point, right?
If, I mean, the
Unless we
money's
found
coming
money
out of
now.
this fund, if we
Right.
moved it to 2024, would you get it done this fiscal year?
So I'll make it
You
2025.
can't even guarantee I'll get it done in 2025.
We have
Okay.
faith. We have so much faith.
All right. What about the public safety complex roof, right, PSC public safety, roof replacement, line 12?
The roof's 20 years old now.
So,
Usually shingle roofs don't go much longer than that.
okay, so we definitely probably need to look at replacing that this summer, or next fall, or whatever.
There's a lot of missing shingles up there, and
Don't
there's a
be
lot of shingles with no aggregate left on top of them, so.
Okay. Okay, well, that's coming out of this fund too, so I guess looking at these projects, if we're,
And I don't know if that price is how good that price is, that's what my guess is, but.
I did a calculation of that based on some
Okay.
estimates that I found online and also some recent work that had been done. But the big unknown is the complexity of the roof and what factor you put in for that.
all right. So that,
I mean, we're not leaking now, so,
But waiting till we do is never the best choice.
no.
Other big projects that's being funded out of this fund coming up is the line 17, the transfer station fire pump for the recycling center
That can get pushed out.
to.
I think it can go out till at least probably 2030. We had a weird pump test on it a couple of years ago, and John looked at them, and then we got the pump test from this past summer showed it was right back where it should have been, so I don't know what was going on, but it's doing better than the curve, so.
Previous tests, year after year, did not make sense. They didn't show.
Well, they showed a drastic drop, and this year they went back up. It went okay, then down, so I don't know if something was screwy with it or not.
Got it, but it seems to have repaired.
The other thing I did when I was looking at these numbers at home is everything after line 24, a lot of them were, we don't know where it's coming from, we don't know what we're doing. I changed them all to funded. So, well, I guess, so I changed, hold on, let me look. So,
we
so
did that.
well, not all of them were when I opened this earlier, so like the parish hall demolition, I changed to funded. I changed the bunk room replacement to funded,
Which replacement?
it's line 20, it's 29.
Oh, okay.
I changed that to funded, cause like all these things have to replace, like ignoring them isn't gonna fix that.
Mhm.
Yeah, they're all new. The fire, the fire department AC might be able to go longer, because that's essentially brand new with the amount of parts we've put into it.
Okay. Yeah, I changed that one to funded
Okay.
too.
How about the waste oil, oh, that's one, sorry, that one's the wrong one.
So this
I changed all of
fire
them.
department AC that's right now listed as 2034.
Yep.
You're saying that could be?
Actually, well, that's 10 years from now, yeah, don't change the number. I'm a little lost on my dates.
What year is it? There's a little bit of a
It's 2024,
snowstorm
Happy New Year.
that might have taken some sleep away from
There
you.
you go. Yeah, I changed all the rest of them to
So
funded.
All of these X's.
I did,
Yeah, I think
because
that's
they're
wise.
further out, but I think that ignoring them
Doesn't help us.
is folly.
Unless we chose not to keep one of those buildings.
That's true. I left, so when I was looking at this, there's some things further up that are currently unfunded. So, 18 through 21. And, I left those all as unfunded at this point,
That's the town hall.
because it's all the town hall stuff, and I think that
That's gonna be a big
gonna
project.
have to, yeah. I don't think that it's gonna come from necessarily from here.
Yeah.
Other things that are currently unfunded, let's see.
Sprinkler system, if we decide to do that, would have to be a separate, special project. that
Yeah,
we,
I don't,
funding, and we probably would put in a warrant article that year or something.
I think you'd almost, I mean, or it has to get pushed way out. I mean, we don't think we're gonna be able to save for the $631,000 in 2 years. if
So,
we're taking out a-
with that, I'm pretty sure, I might be wrong, but you can't, I don't think you can put that suppression system in until you put a cistern in out front.
Okay.
Because you need the cistern in order to run the sprinkler system,
Would you
right?
need the cistern for anything else, or is it just for the sprinkler system?
You need the sprinkler system to have more water in the center.
So then we could put those together as one of the joint projects that we could ask and make, like, the select board could decide was a
Right.
priority.
Okay.
Right now, the public safety complex cistern is listed for 2025.
So can we unfund it and make that as a project for another time? Is that what we're
Can
saying?
make it anything you want.
Yeah,
I
okay,
mean,
let's do that for now.
I guess that's the question, is how, we're trying to figure out how to spend the money. How badly do we need that?
I think both of those projects were just kind of placeholders that we'd like to see done.
Okay.
One of the previous chiefs brought it up a lot a couple years ago, looks for grants and couldn't find anything. I mean, that's gonna be a huge, huge project.
But if something came along where all of a sudden somebody said, we have to do this, and like the way we've done with energy recently, there's all these grants, we can do things we couldn't do before. We wanna have it on this financial planning tool, CIP, so that we could immediately go forward and do it, knowing we wanna do it, but we'd have funding for it.
This number that's here, the 288,000, that came from a warrant article in 2010,
Great.
which was passed, but it showed a very large fraction of this money was to come from a grant.
Right.
And a very small piece of it
Right,
was what the voters approved, and it was approved, and then it was never done, and my guess is the grant wasn't received.
right. That would make sense, right? Yeah, okay.
Huge difference. I was involved in putting a fire suppression system in the town hall in the town I live in, which is much smaller than this building. And it was probably 2015, and I believe we paid around $435,000 to.
If we're changing the roof, that doesn't affect the suppression system, right? Like, we're not gonna, okay.
What about
It
this?
it is code required
This suppression, yeah.
by FPA.
It should actually be done, it makes sense. I just think that it needs to be something that is figured out monetarily, not from,
Saving for it?
well,
I mean, 'cause that's what this is. It's like, do you
We're s-
wanna save for it in the future, and then how does
Right.
that break down?
right.
So, I mean, I guess at some point we can ask the town to raise all of that in 1 year, or we say, we're really like to do it in 2030
Right.
and save for the next 6 years.
Or another grant comes through and then we use funding. and make it affordable.
I mean, John, if we change that fire suppression system to 2030 and we make it funded, how does that change the
We look at
amount
where
that
we're
needs
at
to
right now
go in?
first, before we, where the numbers are now.
Like right now it's 100, right, but if you change that to 2030 and make it funded, how does the 100,000
It's my seventh
change?
year doing snow removal.
Does that make sense?
20,
So right now, it's about 100,000 we have to put away every year.
100 and then 91.
Right, so then if you make that 2030,
Okay, 20, 30 odd. 22.
and then if funding comes through faster, you already have money for it and you're ready to go.
Great.
Might not be. My problem is I
Just change the funding
Oh, you
source.
gotta change the
Oops.
funding source, too.
Oh, so it wasn't even in there to start with.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't.
No, so if we change that though, and then change the X to
Fees
an
for
F,
18 months.
how does that 100 change? Okay,
That's
something
what
is
I'm saying.
possible.
Right.
One of the things you're running into in this calculation
Is the increase.
is these costs escalated both by inflation, plus real cost increase, plus quality cost increase. And right now, it's listed as 3% above inflation, so 3% for real plus quality.
Mhm.
The future interest rate that I have listed right now is 3%. I think that's pretty cautious, but
Mhm. You don't know what'll become in the future.
20 years ago, I would have said that was ridiculously low.
Right.
But now I'm being very cautious. So that means when you take things that are out at the point where we think inflation is going to be back down to 2%, but you're adding on 3%,
Mhm.
you're talking about escalation at 5%, but your savings is only going up at 3%.
Right.
It doesn't pay to push things further out.
But future money is different than current money, so it's tricky. So if we keep it off, then our numbers,
Very different, but I mean, if it has to get done, someone's gotta plan for that.
The other two big ones that right now Xed out is the highway addition to the shop, addition to the highway shop, and the sand salt shed. Salt shed. And the salt shed right now is listed at 75,000, but I heard from recent investigation,
Yeah.
that's nowhere near adequate.
Steve, where are we at
Heard
with
of-
salt shed?
No, I know what was it, Hampton or Northampton that you and I had talked about last year that had come in at below $250,000?
Yeah, but that wasn't for what we were gonna do. That was for an actual dome. I think we were looking at a clear span.
So what are we looking at for prices?
It's
and
close to that.
When do we need this, as soon as possible, or?
And the one that we got now's got a lean to it. And
Great.
I mean, Randy put these on the list, so Randy was thinking about
Yes.
this before he left. So
So 2020,
they,
He had that one on for years. It
Yeah.
started out at
I'm
300,000.
pretty sure the salt shed's been there since the 70s, and it's just,
right. But we took it off from last year, is that correct?
it's been put on, taken off. The
Right, we
prices have
didn't-
been higher, they've been reduced to a certain amount.
It's not part of the budget from 2024, so we have to change the date.
Well, or it needs to come out of this fund.
Right. So would coming out of the fund make more sense, or?
I don't know, I mean, technically, we need both of them. We're packing, I mean, the shop's way too small.
Right, okay. So what do we do for years? What do we do? Funding, we need to fund it, and then we need to put a different year, or do it now.
Well, just be cognizant of what your totals are over there.
Right.
Deposit for all funds this year was 775,000. You want to increase it by $500,000 next year? No, no. So you're gonna have to put things off. It's the same thing with your budget at home. You have to do all kinds of things, but you can only afford so much.
But this one was unfunded at 2024, so we have to take, if we're gonna put that in at 2025, we need to take something else and move it out.
You just leave them unfunded. I mean, we're making do with what we got, so.
Yeah, but it can only happen for so long. Or is there something better that you really actually want? That is, we're not, okay.
One of the things that hasn't been done, having to deal with a shop which is undersized, costs you money. but how much? And having to deal with the salt shed that they have now, where you can't actually dump all the salt in the shed,
Right.
it's costing you money, but how much?
I'm putting two brand-new gorgeous snow plows in a
So like
tiny space.
if we had a salt shed with the amount of salt we use and stuff, like money left at the end of the year, it doesn't really make, like now is not a good way to describe it, but 3 years ago when salt was $46 a ton, if we had the room, we could have
Right.
spent the 10 or 15 grand that we had extra in the salt and stuck it there and saved $30 a ton because it shot through the roof.
Right up, yeah.
That's really the only
Well,
benefit. Plus, we can only hold a certain amount, and if we get real busy and we start using a lot and we can't get them delivered fast enough, then we don't have any.
Right,
That's the only downfall to the size.
and we're
that we
headed
have.
for a lot more ice and a lot less snow, so we're gonna need more salt, correct? Although they're changing how they wanna go for the salt because of conservation lands and.
I think that's another consideration for your salt shed is environmental concerns. If you
So right now, we're still okay
Yeah,
that way, but, you know, that's why we paved our backyard when we paved it, because we were starting to get potholes in it and dirt. Technically, it's supposed to be stored on impervious surface, and it was not impervious anymore. And
right,
DES will fine you for it.
well, it'll just make your groundwater dangerous,
Yeah.
so it's not safe.
It's in the Aquifer Conservation
Yeah,
District.
was it leaking into the house next door, into Phil's house?
I don't think so.
No?
Not that I know of.
I thought that was something that came up that they were,
I mean, it was gonna be a concern. I mean, we can't, our well at the shop is too high for arsenic anyway. We never tested it for salt, but we can't.
Somebody uses it for something, don't they? They come in,
The state will fill up off the well and then hydro seed with it, but that's it.
okay.
So we removed the town hall renovation and we changed the dates of the tool shed. So we should be able to put the salt shed funded in here for 2025, correct?
You can't,
I think we need to do more research on our actual price before you just fund it.
yeah, because you're looking at putting in $1.3 million into the trust funds until 2025?
No,
Yes, that's what it's saying right there.
Yes.
but you're forgetting that's the total,
That's the total for all.
All funds,
right?
So there's other big ones here.
and I
This
know.
one's 365,000.
Don't you revisit this every year, though?
Yes.
Well, 2025, that's where we're dealing with the budget right now, so.
And the library's only asking for 200, so I don't think we have any intention of putting
Correct.
365 in there.
Right, so a lot of those numbers are,
Yeah, they're not, we were only on the first sheet, like that number isn't accurate at the moment.
but if what we're saying is that that's something that has to, I guess that's what we're saying, is what has to happen? What can we move, take off? What can we, like, unfund and make a plan to do something with later? What can we push off? When we push it off, it just makes it worse, because it just makes it more expensive later, so
I understand
that
that,
doesn't help anybody.
but I think my point is we have to look at everything. You're prioritizing everything within this particular fund, but you've got other funds that are affecting that particular number. So we need to look at the whole thing, not just this one
But what
thing.
the problem we have is that we do that and we push it off. So why don't we finish up this page for the things that are really priority? I personally would like to take the sprinklers off for now, because I think it's something we're gonna have to make like an actual warrant article
Okay.
and make a big deal. And then add the salt shed, because that's something that has to happen,
Because it's falling apart.
because it's, right, because it's literally not gonna work.
Okay.
If we were told that the fire suppression system was an absolute priority, I would make that an absolute priority.
I mean, having a sprinkler system's a little more important than a salt shed. No,
I agree. The question is, it's been put off for decades for a reason, so what is the reason, and when is the year that it's not something that is put off? And why didn't we do it as an emergency when it first came up, if it's an emergency?
I'm not saying it's an emergency, I'm just saying that
Right,
its age is about up.
You're putting more and more expensive equipment in the building, and now you have employees sleeping in the building, which you didn't have before.
So is that something that we should be putting as a warrant article for like next year and really like make happen? I mean, if we're building a brand new building, we really can't do that right now, but if that's something that we need and it's for the safety of the employees, then we should do it and put it on there.
The purpose of, one of the purposes of a capital reserve fund is so that you don't have to have spikes like that.
Yeah, I see it.
But when you added this, it made that into twice the amount we have to save, so that is a spike every single year going forward, so what we need to do is,
For boards that have to decide how to spend money, it is much better to have level costs, because spikes are bad on both sides.
I agree.
When it goes up, everybody complains, and then when it goes down, the board tends to add more stuff so it doesn't go down as far as it should.
The sprinkler system is either an important thing for the safety of our employees and we need to do it ASAP, or it's something that we don't need to do. And I don't think I understand how we keep fluctuating between the two. It's either life-saving and important, or it's not. And so I don't know how to, like, that should either be a crisis or it should not be. And I'm not reading the room well, I guess, and understanding what it is.
My opinion is that there's a reason NFPA says it's required.
So then, do we say that we're gonna do a town municipal building this year, and then we have the $200,000 for the library, and then next year we don't do whatever, the other funds or whatever, and we put that as a warrant article and make it a priority? I just feel like it's a can that's been kicked so far, and I just don't wanna kick something that's vital and important, and I also don't, I don't think anyone else is saying, like, do we need it? If we do, how are we gonna do it? Waiting's not gonna help anyone if it's life-saving.
The other issue that Andy pointed out is that we really don't know the cost. I mean, this is a cost from 2010.
So is this something that we could, for right now in this process, put aside and then have that be a priority at the next?
Right now it is, with it Xed out, it is put aside.
The thing is, there's more than, I'm not sure what's in the 288 from 2010. But the thing is, you're going to need the installation of that particular sprinkler system in this building. You're going to have to find a water source, a cistern, and you're going to have to buy the pump to do it. And as far as I remember, the pump is the most expensive part of that whole thing. So I
Yes,
think this needs some more.
That's in here. But
But it's
obviously,
14 years
question's
old,
been
so.
correct.
I mean, I always look at the transfer station pump, and you can, that's how much that pump's at least gonna cost.
They're
Yeah.
expensive,
Yeah, so this could be off considerably.
yeah. And the other thing is, it has to be attached to a power source, a generator, so that power goes out, we get a fire,
Well, we have the generators.
yeah. But is it powerful enough to do the pump?
I don't know,
as well as
that's
all
what I
the
do.
other stuff, so.
As a resident,
Thank you.
doesn't it make sense to fix what you have before you build something new?
Which one of those is which one?
Make this building comply and
Okay.
fix before you go building another building. Just thought.
Right. I hear you. I think for shit.
But either way, it needs more research in terms of what it is, how much it's gonna cost. And if the cistern is in these fire ponds and cisterns already,
Yes, it is.
so that particular part is kind of, you know, it's funded next year. So I think the other part needs to get more research.
And also, if we ended up working with another town, then the $1 million for each new truck changes and how we look at suppression changes too, so. I think there's a lot of change coming, and it's just hard to set aside for tomorrow's situation, which is not the same as today's.
I think, let me go back to what I said before, we need to go through all these and then prioritize them, because even $1.2 million next year is too much.
Right.
So I think we need to go through all these and then maybe we come back to this. And this is an iterative process. It's not like, okay, we're leaving town buildings and we're not coming back to it. We'll come back to it. But I think we need to look at some of these other things because the priorities on those are probably gonna be less or more, I don't know, when we get to, you know, doing the overall thing. Because I don't think we're gonna go much higher. I wouldn't want us to go any much higher than the 775,000.
Right.
And this number does not include the two new funds that are listed on the warrant.
Which is this
All right, we have
fence and the.
15 minutes left.
Yes.
Yeah.
So let's get off of this topic and on to the next one. Yes, we're not gonna.
This is the biggest one, so.
I think the next biggest one is the library, which is divided by 2.
But the library, they're asking for $200,000 and I don't feel like,
The rest of it is their math.
I don't really care.
You don't really care what.
I mean, let's make it $200,000, that's what they've said that they need. Let's change it
well,
from 365.
What they've said they need is $1.9 million over the next few years.
But that's if they do an addition and all those things that I don't think we've ever, like, really gone into depth with. And
So.
some of that can be
question
fundraised
is,
on like other town buildings.
Yeah, there's 100,000 to come from this year, to come from the foundation. But you said you don't think this is anything you've ever gotten into.
No, I mean, we,
Has the board actually, as far as I know, the board has actually not approved spending any money out of this fund,
right.
and yet money is being spent out of this fund.
We approved the amount that was in there currently. But what I'm saying is there's a huge amount of money down, if you go down, that's for an addition. I don't remember ever saying, yes, let's do an addition.
Here's the addition at 600,000.
And that's funded right now, which I don't remember ever agreeing to or being part of.
No, my question was, have you approved spending money from the fund? And you haven't.
And I'm not approved spending money from the fund. Is that something we need to do right now?
because we care about you.
I think right this minute, we should change the planned deposit to $200,000 because that is what the library has asked
Yep.
their warrant article to say. And
Can we make the addition unfunded?
Well,
Or is that a library trustee decision?
with all the other stuff we've got, I'm not in favor of having that particular number on the warrant.
what is
I want it to be
200,000?
zero. They're in the middle of their project, they don't need any more money at the moment. And I think we still need to have a conversation about all the other stuff that they want. They started out, I think they need to come back to us and talk to us about their future plans, because if we're talking about, what is it, $1.8 million in total for that library, that's, no, I'm not in favor of that, I'm sorry.
I don't think that now's the time to have that conversation.
I agree, and I think
There's
that we
5 other tabs to look at.
let the voters make that decision as well.
Okay, well, I want to be on the record that I'm not in favor of the 200,000.
Great.
Okay.
Unfunding the library is how we got here in the first place.
All right, how about highway equipment? Is there any of these equipment things that have been not paid for, differently paid for in the 2024 column? Thank you, you're the best.
So the inventory management one in the annual expense thing is out of the budget.
Okay.
I believe that got put into that's currently sitting under the new equipment line in my budget.
It's under the ABC recommendation.
Yeah.
So what do we do with it to make
So,
it?
so right now, so you're talking about line 4, the program?
No, yeah, that is currently sitting in my budget.
So can we change that from F to annual budget?
Yep.
Thank you.
Because a lot of this stuff was wish list items, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's not,
No, we understand, so we're trying to.
it's like the ground speed control units down there in 2026 was a wish list. It doesn't have to happen. It's just something that, 11.
Should we make that unfunded for now?
Well, because
until-
you could, to be honest with you, you probably make it come out of the budget and you do one a year. It's not, you know what I mean? It's not a big deal.
Okay. Can we change then 11 to budget? Instead of coming out of this fund?
The cold planer, it can be unfunded, that was a wish list item, it doesn't have to happen.
John, that should be A, B, not B,
Whoops,
not bonded.
sorry. Thank you.
Am I allowed to do that? We
No,
bought for
that'd
That'd be
25?
really interesting.
Okay.
You can, what's that?
So like all of those skid steer attachments that are all the way down through there can all be, they were just wish list items.
So all of those, all four of those, wait, I'm sorry, I don't know which ones are skid steer attachments, to be real honest.
Down here.
The snow blower.
Skid steer, snow blower.
So that one, we're gonna probably need before the other ones, because if that sidewalk that they wanna put in,
What sidewalk?
The one between the school.
Stratford Regional.
if that ends up happening, we're gonna need to get something like that so we can,
But that's not gonna happen anytime soon.
I don't know, I'm just, that's
Yeah.
why it was even put in there, was because of something like that.
Yeah, so put that as maybe just a X for now.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, but I don't wanna ignore it, like, if they're not gonna put the sidewalk anytime soon, what if we just move it to like 2028, so we don't? I
Yeah,
would like to keep saving for these things, and when we X them out, then we're
Right.
no longer
No, I know,
considering
but-
it.
but then, yeah, we'd have to put a special, another savings in here for the 20% we'd have to pay for the sidewalk, which we don't have anywhere in here.
So I think I heard that you want a different date for this.
Just put
That's my
20,
opinion.
put 2030 or 2028, it doesn't,
Yeah.
Okay.
If we had 20% to go towards it, we could right away put in sidewalks where we wanted. We would just have to have that money.
Is there any of the, especially the things kind of at the top, Steve, that are not going to happen in 24, or
I think
are
we
gonna be
moved them.
different?
the,
You already
the,
fixed it all?
the Trimble one, if we do the inventory management thing, we have to buy that, or else we're not gonna be able to really use it.
Okay, and that's right now.
I think that's the only thing there.
So
The only
number
other
5
one you
could be
asked
AB.
about,
No.
oh, the trailer can get moved,
The trailer?
Hold on.
10.
So the GPS receiver is still to come from the fund.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
The
And then
trailer.
this trailer,
Yeah, that could probably get moved. We need one, but it could probably get moved.
to
2027.
Have they started?
Any of those within like 5 years,
It doesn't
a whole lot at
do
all,
much, right?
actually.
So we only have 10 more minutes, let's focus on what can.
If you go to the road and bridge, that's pretty much everything in that line. The roads and bridge one,
Okay.
this has a big question that's beyond the reserve fund.
Yeah.
And that is, as I understand it, for the bridge rebuild, you have to pay the whole cost up front,
and then they reimburse
and then
you.
you get reimbursed. And so this is a question for the select board and the town treasurer
Right.
to find out, can you afford to build?
So when they did High Road, they paid for it all out of the unassigned fund balance, I believe, and then so that's actually how the 2 dump truck grant, that's how that has to happen, and then they give you the money back with it.
Yeah.
But on this one, you asked, Chesley Brook is done. We spent 60 grand out of that 140, like 62,000. The engineering came in 30,000 less than what they had
But it's
anticipated.
still charging us if we already paid for it,
It's done.
so can't we take it off?
No, it's coming out of this
No,
fund this
it
fiscal
was,
year.
it was this fiscal year.
So we haven't paid for it.
It's probably for the best.
I've paid out of the trust fund for it already. Same way with the rehabilitate a half mile of road, that got paid for already.
Is it 200,000?
Yeah, it's what we spent.
Okay, so that's, so
But
that number's accurate.
That needs to get moved. I mean, we're still gonna need to do it again at some point.
So those have
Like-
been paid for, or you're saying on the trust fund so that we have to be reimbursed? I'm confused.
Correct. This column here is the current fiscal year, 2024.
Correct?
And so it starts with what was the opening balance at the beginning of the year.
Okay,
It adds on the planned deposit that was made.
right.
It calculates how much income would be earned from that amount of
And then
money.
the withdrawals.
And then what the withdrawals are and what do we end up with at the end of the year. And that's what then goes forward to the next year.
Perfect, thank
And
you.
that's why all of the items that, even though you've already done this, it still needs to stay here so that
Until
it
it's
gets
gone.
subtracted from this year.
Thank you.
When we roll over to next year, then we would look at each of these items and say, yeah, that was done last year. Will we have to do it again in the future? And if so, when will it be?
Okay, great, thank you.
I think you'll have to find out from the trustee of the trust funds, but
Yeah.
it's my understanding that that things come out of the general fund, and then at the end of the fiscal year, the requests are made. So
Correct.
actually, we paid for it, but the trustees of the trust fund haven't taken it out.
And then the big one on this is the Old Mill Bridge header replacement. We got 79 last year from, that's what the state grant, the state thing was. We just got another 21,000 that we can use toward that, too,
So this,
that you voted on last week.
So can we do this
so
now?
number 3 then should be not funded from here because.
Correct, because technically for that project, we've got almost $100,000 that we've gotten from the state bridge that's sitting in the general fund right now, we haven't spent.
Ah, So,
So what number would
so
you?
this is now 79 plus 21?
It's actually 21.2 something, I don't remember what they voted on last week, I can't remember off the top of my head.
But, so John, the line number 3, instead of having it be, have it be annual budget, 'cause it's coming out of grant money that we got.
And put it in 2024?
No,
Doesn't matter.
that doesn't matter, because that's all engineering stuff we still have to do and get wetlands permits, but that was 79 last year and like 21 something from this year.
21,998.53, so 22,000.
So the total is 100, and say again, Scott?
If you want exact numbers, $21,998.53.
Oops.
Was I missing something, Steve? I thought you'd given me a 96.2 as the engineering cost
And
for
that
Chesley
can
Brook
decrease by
Culvert.
21,000.
But it was, we got 30 grand, they didn't spend the 30, that's where it is.
Okay.
You would step it out, I'm sorry.
Becomes
That's what the quote from them was,
12,
and then the law, and then
Yeah.
they said we came in 30 grand under.
Okay.
And then, John, can you fix line number 1, the 62 is the actual. So can we change the date for that 62 to
Yes.
2024?
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm still making those because it's a little closer and closer to 775, Scott. All right,
And then I don't, that's all
I appreciate that.
that's all I got for that.
Okay. All right. Do we have anything under fire equipment that can be updated, accurate? Are we, did you do both of these things? Okay, our friend. That, both of these, the first 2 lines there, utility 1 and 2, I know you come and tell us these things, and then I forget the names of the different trucks. Did both of these things happen in this fiscal year, and are these prices accurate? Okay, and are you intending, the radio infrastructure is actually a warrant article, so that should be,
So we have that in
Not
right now as a placeholder, as a warrant article. I'm reaching back out to the company to try and see if I can get more information on that. That might have to get pushed to next year, because we're just not gonna be ready to go.
but either way, we're not funding it out of this fund, we're actually funding it with a special warrant article?
Is that what's-
Is that what that's what I thought it said?
The warrant article is to remove the money from this fund,
I thought it said something else.
because
Okay, I
there's no
misread
agent
that.
to expend.
I misread it then, that's my bad. All right,
All
apologies.
expenditures from this have to go to the voters.
I thought we were raising the money, not just you. Is that how it's written?
When you take it out of the fund, it's still, the wording is still raising appropriate.
I misread it, I thought we were just raising it. Okay, all right. Ponds and cisterns. I know, we're still arguing about the public safety complex. Are you doing the Elder Osborne one?
Elder Osborne can probably get, well,
Is it gonna happen?
it can get pushed off. As far as I know, John told me that I can come to the board and ask to remove the money from the fund without having a warrant article.
Correct.
So we don't have to go to the town per se, we just
Okay.
come to the board. We are trying to find somebody to fix that. We had somebody and we have not heard anything back.
It's because it leaks, right?
Correct.
So this is actually just to repair it,
Yeah, it's just.
but
a
you don't
report.
think it's gonna happen in this fiscal year?
No, we're still, I mean, we can call the company that manufactured it, which will be the most expensive. We have somebody local that we're trying to get a hold of. They worked on Northeast Crescent's cistern, so we're trying to get hold of them to
But
make
they
that
wouldn't be able to do it probably till,
at least spring, summertime anyway, so.
so it might happen this fiscal year. Okay, so we should be back then. All right.
All right, we have like 1 minute left.
Okay.
So do you want to just really quickly look at the numbers that we have here? Totals, so as we're making choices, we have information.
No, I don't think I hit by a car a few months ago.
So what do you want to look at?
The total,
I sent them an email.
for the whole town.
I think
278.
It was
Right.
That number there,
and that's while we're still including the cistern and the
Right,
fire,
but they-
the
Can you go back to Netherlands and come home?
plus add on the other two funds that you're going to create.
Yeah, at least I called it. I mean, I was thinking-
No, it's not the fire suppression, it's not the- John, if we look at down where there it is, 14 and 15, if we look at putting more of that in the bond and less of it from this,
correct.
then we can add those numbers a little. So like if we made that 1.4 and
Yeah.
3, does that help us?
It was 2005 they did that number. 2005, 2006. EGP did it out of our, I'm sure somewhere.
60,000.
Because the rest of it's for the future.
EGP out of, where I did.
But we still should do that because we have to have money for other things that have to happen faster.
Right.
All right. Any more financial planning tool topics? Are you ready to dig in? All right. And it's 6:01. We're going to start the regular part of the meeting. First, we're going to start with public comment, limited to 3 minutes. Please come on up, state your name and address, and please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Having no takers, we'll go on to the second budget public hearing, which I will now open. We're going to review the proposed 2025 budget. Go to one. All right. Who wants to start?
Need to turn the camera back on?
It was on.
It was on the whole time.
Oh.
Yes, the camera's
The other camera.
I was watching.
So I think we decided to have a conversation about salaries, non-public, so everything.
I would just caution that if you're gonna talk about salaries for reasons other than performance, you shouldn't go to non-public.
Correct, for performance-related issues, but if it's just
No.
like the,
If you're going to talk about salaries regarding an individual employee's performance,
That's
you can
good.
go into non-public. If you're just gonna talk
Otherwise.
about what you might like to set salaries at,
Correct.
you should stay in public.
so if it's the overall cost of living increase or any of those things, those are just gonna start here, but if it's a specific person's because based on performance, then we can talk about
They
them.
just need it.
Great.
They just need it. For that.
Hey, Kyle.
So do you want a budget or a warrant? What would you like to start with?
Starting with budget, what do you guys think, or do you want to just deal with warrant a little bit, in your mind from the FPT?
Well, did we finish the FPT? I don't think we did. So
Well, I don't think
how do we
he's
do
gonna ever
the
finish the FPT. I think that, do we have the information we need to set the warrants? I think there's disagreement, so maybe we have to vote on some of them. But if you want to start, because we just talked about FPT and start with warrants, let's do that. Thank you. while Andy's doing that, do you want to go ahead and vote on this? Okay. So Denise, while Andy's getting that ready, we're gonna, I move to accept the January 3rd, 2024 select board minutes.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so moved. Done. Okay. We bought you some time, Andy.
Yeah.
Can we buy you some more?
Thank you, for some reason this is not.
Here, got it. I'm rocking and rolling. Want me to move some consent agendas forward, get that done? Give me a second. All right. I move that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
You're still in the budget hearing.
Oh, well, we're trying to,
Just trying to fill
kill
time
time.
and just.
can we do that during a budget hearing? All right, done. So I'm voting that I agree
No,
because
no.
I'm the chair, and then she'll be coming.
This is consent.
I'm getting grumpiness that I can't go ahead on the consent agenda,
Oh,
even though it is one item. Grumpiness down the way. Here's that.
Second. Just agree.
you just consider it like in general?
No, not in general.
This will go up in a second, it just takes a little bit to.
I'm just getting ahead of everything.
One of the things I would mention with regard to the warrant, there was discussion, and Trin had brought this up a few months back. Steve Buckley at the Municipal Association had advised that the best way to proceed with leasing the town hall annex to the Historical Society would be to have a warrant article authorizing that. You had discussed it, I had not included the warrant article, but that's a non-dollar amount, but if the board wishes to do that, I can put together a warrant article with some help from Mr. Buckley, and
Great, do we need to vote, or do we just all agree?
I think at least two of you need to agree.
Yes, please.
Great. Are you agreeing or not agreeing to a warrant article?
You have your two, you don't need.
Well, that leaves you not having any comment on it.
Remember, I'm cranky, remember what?
That's right.
What am I? I'm something, I don't remember what I am.
And that said, after the changes to the financial planning tool, I'm assuming you want to change warrant article 2
Yes, please.
to 1.4?
That was how we left it.
Correct, that'd be great.
There was discussion about the library. Back up?
Please. So, doesn't the language about taking money out of the town building capital reserve fund be in there as well? You've got a little comment down there, but I think that needs to be included in there as
Yeah.
well.
I
So
think
the
you're right.
total together. The other thing is, I believe I mentioned this last time, we need to put language in there, and I thought you were gonna talk to somebody about spending the interest.
Right.
That has to be in there as well.
I have spoken, I have not gotten a response.
Okay. So can we put something in there about,
Placeholder.
let us not forget to include
Yep.
interest or something?
I can't on this particular screen.
That's okay.
And I've got, obviously.
I just have a quick question. Do you still want in number 2, up to whatever amount you agreed to?
Mhm.
Added in there? Okay.
Because the issue is, we have to ask them permission to spend that money, but if we get other grants or whatever, we don't necessarily need to take out bonds of that particular amount.
We should get some help.
Yeah, so the language should be up to, but not to exceed, the 1.4 million. Same thing with the town building capital reserve fund. It should be up to, but not to exceed 400,000. But the thing is, if we get a grant, and if we get a grant like Barrington did, we're gonna be using what, maybe 200,000 out of there? So we need to word it appropriately.
So I believe it was 1.4 million and 300,000 from the CRS
Correct.
that we talked about.
Yes. Should we go on to the library capital reserve?
Yeah, we have to wait for the operating.
Do we have, yeah, we have it, okay.
We have, oh, before we go on, number 3, default budget. What did you find out?
I have not gotten a determination yet. Kat DiOlivera, my DRA representative, is not interested in commenting on it. Her comment was that she approved it. I asked our attorney, whose family has COVID, and told me that she will have an answer by Wednesday.
Okay. Thank you.
I think that her, from my initial conversation with her, just loosely, we do have a written agreement with McGregor that I have a copy of. I think her feeling is likely to be split. I think she's going to tell me that McGregor can stay and that the insurance cost should come out, but she has not done that yet.
The only thing is, we haven't done that for other particular entities, like particularly the McGregor ambulance service in previous years for the default budget.
Right.
So why are we doing this year? Just because it's up? I don't think that's appropriate.
Because we have a different town administrator who's doing
The only reason I put it in there was because it was a long-term contract, and it has specifics in it. We have to give them 6 months' notice to leave. It renews every 3 years.
We're just upgrading and doing it
To
better.
my mind, that seemed to meet the requirement. But
So we would do it every year going forward, it wouldn't be just, that it's just because it's up this year. It's a,
It seemed like a long-term contract that we were obligated to my mind, is why I put it in there. That was the only reason.
We're not obligated that, we're obligated to use their service, but not necessarily that particular level. So,
Could be.
and I think,
but
I
it's
don't
the
know,
cost for the same service, it's not changing levels, it's just changing the cost because of the increased needs.
but I think the last time, I think you had 2 select people that were in favor of taking it out.
No, were you in favor of taking it out, Rebecca?
And my question is, what did we have to do?
Yeah, it wasn't that she
Are
said
we
we wanted to take it out.
If you want to make a motion instructing me to take it out, I will take it out. I believe I will have an answer in fairly short order as to whether it can stay.
We'll wait, but before the 16th though.
Right. And I do have a copy of the agreement. So it's old.
Yes.
It's not been
It's very
updated
old.
since, I believe, 2008.
Okay. Are we ready to move forward or no?
Yeah, I mean,
It's still put on 4.
Great. Library capital reserve, they've requested 200,000. There was discussion during the FPT. Is there more discussion?
I move that we strike it.
Anyone seconding? Having no second, I move that we keep it in.
okay.
Is that, I mean, do we need to do that if you're moving to strike it?
The what?
Or do we just need to vote on keeping it in? All right, so,
You made a motion, did you second it?
I guess I'm confused. If it's already there, are we really voting to keep it in?
yes, because it's being discussed to remove it.
Maybe the thing to do is to remove the select board recommends this article.
That would be if nobody voted for it. So if 2 of us voted for it,
Are
then the
we
select
voting
board
to
would.
leave it there so people can vote on it? Or are we voting to say we like it? I guess that's my question.
I would say at this stage, you are taking a vote as to whether you want to include that warrant article with
On the warrant.
$200,000 assigned to it.
2 different questions.
Okay, well, that was why I wanted to make sure what I was voting.
Yeah,
So I think she's saying to leave it in,
I'm saying
even though
we
it
should
is
leave it in.
already there.
Great, so let's do that. Just second that first part.
Second.
Great, all in favor, any discussion? All in favor? Aye. And opposed?
Now you
Nay.
can make a
Great,
motion when you want to recommend it or.
great. Now, do you want to do that? I move that we recommend this article. And no seconds. Okay,
So
we have it in.
You have to do the opposite now, I think. So I move that we strike out from article number 4, the select board recommends this article.
Are you also not voting in that, not seconding that either?
I mean, I'll second that. I think people should be allowed to vote on what the library's asked for. I don't know, though, that that's the best use of our money at the moment.
Okay,
I don't, but I
so you're
think people should be
seconding that.
allowed, second,
Great, is there any
Yes.
discussion?
no.
Is there any, okay. Do you want to open it up to the rest of the room?
You're in charge.
And the library has something to say.
I can speak to this.
Come on up. Yep, that's why we have a public hearing, to have the public speak.
All right. I guess sorry, Emily Woodall from the Library Trustees. I'd be curious to see what the opposition is to this article, this warrant article. We did go to the CIP with this request, and it was, recommended by the CIP. So I'm just kind of curious as to why it wouldn't be supported by the select board.
And then your part.
I will speak for myself. This particular project keeps escalating in costs, and that's not, I'm not in favor of that. The second thing is, based on the other wants, needs that we have, this is not appropriate at this particular time. 200,000 is gonna raise the tax rate by about 50 cents, a little bit more. Last year, we raised the taxes by 8.7%. This year, we're probably looking at 4 to 5%, depending on what the numbers call out. That is way too much. So that's where I'm coming from. I'm coming from the taxpayer that I don't earn an awful lot of money, and you keep raising my taxes significantly. I can't afford this. And the thing is, I don't want to get into a situation like Deerfield has had for the last 7 years, that people say, nope, I'm not voting for this, you get nothing. And we'll go back to a default budget. I'm not in favor of that. So you can only push the taxpayer so far, and that's where I'm coming from. I'm not against the library. I think you guys do excellent stuff. I was there the other night, dropping off some calendars, and the place was packed. So people do your service and appreciate it. But at some point, the town's gonna say, or the town will say, enough's enough. So that's where I'm coming from, and that's just me speaking,
Sure,
not
I
the board. So.
I guess I'm wondering why it wouldn't be open to voters to also put in there.
Well, that's what we're saying.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I absolutely think the voters should vote on it.
Okay.
The line that we're arguing about right now is the select board recommends this article.
Yeah.
I was
So,
just assuming.
just to be clear, the two things that we had in the library, the CIP for next year, were $30,000 for exterior repairs on the non-schoolhouse portion. That has never been included in any past, so it's not part of an ongoing project, it's a new project. The second part is 200,000, so we actually asked for less than the amount that we have budgeted for our CIP next year. We have 230,000 budgeted. We asked for 200,000. The other 200,000 from the 230 was for interior remodeling of the non-schoolhouse portion of the building. In the financial planning tool that Haley and I met with Mr. Tappan about, if we really wanted to keep up to date with the maintenance and projects of the library, we would need to be asking for $400,000. So we have asked for half of the amount of money that we need to maintain the current property that we have. And what we're asking for is support to just at least maintain and do the projects that we have. Because of the 400,000, and we didn't want to ask for that much, we're going to need to push a lot of those projects back. So things like the roof, things like, gosh, there's a lot of things.
There's a lot of maintenance inside.
Outdoor space, I don't know, I'd have to look back on the list. But some of the things are things that are going to need to be addressed. And if we don't ask for money, then we can't keep addressing the building.
So-
I fully understand, I think my concern is that we actually just had an hour-long discussion about all the things we have to pay for, including apparently a fire suppression system for this building.
Yeah,
So,
I
like,
have no doubt.
That's it, it's just,
Yeah.
every building needs a lot of work because they were ignored for so very long. And so you guys have been doing massive improvements, and part of that FTP saying you need $365,000 a year is $700 for a addition.
Yeah, I know,
So,
which obviously is gonna be pushed back.
like, that's
Definitely.
it. I mean,
Yeah.
and like I said, I think it should be on there. People should be allowed to vote, yes or no. If they wanna spend it, great. If they don't wanna spend it, great.
Yeah.
But I don't know if, since we have a salt shed that's falling down and a fire suppression system that literally people sleeping in this building that apparently needs to be done, that I can say that the interior remodeling is higher priority than that. This
Sure.
coming.
I mean, that interior remodeling does include a lift, which is ADA compliant. So I just wanna make it sure that people know that if we don't ask for anything and we don't get support for things, then that's a loss of services, and it's a loss of access. And so I would ask you to consider supporting this, but that's all. Thanks.
Another thing, I don't know who your treasurer is this year,
Deb Shanda.
Deb Shanda. Andy, you need to work with Deb Shanda, I would request, in terms of how the money gets from the foundation to pay for some of these things. It's scheduled for $100,000, but so as far as I know, they haven't contributed any money toward that. Maybe I'm wrong, but that needs to be worked out, how that works. Do part of the bills get sent to the foundation and they pay for it? Does the town pay for it and the foundation pays the town? I don't know how that works. But that needs to be figured out so that can occur.
Sound Tappan, would you like to come up?
John Tappan, 187 Stepping Stones Road. Two comments about what was just said. One is that what was added to the FPT, I believe, is mischaracterized as maintenance. Some of it is maintenance, and of course repairing a roof is maintenance, but much of it is not. And obviously remodeling an interior is not maintenance. Most of it is not. The other thing was that the capital improvements program was referenced. We don't have a capital improvements program. Capital improvements program is a 6-year plan where the CIP committee looks at all of the requests and prioritizes them. That did not happen this year, and the only thing that you got was 4 people voting on what was in the FPT for the coming year, and that was it. So you can't talk about what's in a capital improvements program because
Thank you.
we don't have one.
Okay, any other discussion, or you want to finish the vote? Okay, all in favor? Go ahead.
Just to speak to the foundation. So the foundation does contribute, they do pay some of the bills. So, I mean, you're not digging into our budget, so you wouldn't be seeing that.
We should be seeing your budget.
Yeah, well, I mean, our budget was submitted.
No.
But what I mean is like
Your capital expense budget, we don't see that. Why not?
we can give you that. I mean,
Please do.
just to be clear, the foundation is contributing to all these projects.
So right now, the FPT has it contributing $100,000.
Yep.
How much have they contributed so far?
Well, I'd have to look back at it. I mean, I didn't bring the sheet, but I can tell you that they are contributing and there are grants that have been contributed towards this project. And that isn't reflected in our CIP. Also, we don't have access to the FTP. So we cannot add and remove things
As you want.
as we want.
You shouldn't be. That comes
No,
from
I know, but what I mean is like, so it's not a dynamic document for us.
So if you're discussing the library and you want to understand what they're spending money on, that needs to be looked at with the library and understood what the expenses
Yeah,
are.
and Deborah can certainly come to a meeting and show you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Last comment, and then we really need to move on.
John Tappan again. I have volunteered multiple times to meet with any department heads that want to have input to the FPT. It is up to the select board if the select board wants to request that a group update it. But if any department head wants to make changes,
Great,
they can just ask the select board that they want to make changes, and I can be available for doing that.
thank you. So, we've had discussion about the, like my words, the motion, thank you very much, was to not recommend the article. Yeah, man, I am tired in
Well,
any
let me
way.
go back.
I don't think it's.
No, Richmond moved to recommend this article and the motion died. Scott moved to strike the language,
Of,
But it's not that we're not recommending it or recommending it,
Right.
we're letting the voters
just striking the
decide.
Striking
language
language.
of recommending
Okay.
this.
great, so this vote is currently on striking the language.
And
All in
she's-
favor?
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. Motion passes. All right. Anyone who's not exhausted can feel free to take over anytime.
No, that's part of your job. You get the big money for doing this.
I get 0 extra money for doing this. All right, the Fire Equipment Capital Reserve Fund is number 5, 175,000. When we looked at the FPT, that was not the amount needed. Is there a suggestion?
We need to go back to the FTP to find out what these numbers are, because,
Do you want to put it back up? We just took it down.
no, but we need it. I think we need it. If we're gonna do more discussion about, what they can do properly with it.
I do not. I have walked into the budget software. John may be able to verbally tell you though.
Yes.
Well, were we actually done?
No.
I don't think we're done, but.
As it was left, the calculated deposit for next year is $275,545.
275, 545.
That's including having the fire suppression system in it, correct?
No.
No, that's not fire
Not
equipment, that's
including the fire
buildings.
suppression system. Great.
And it's 275 because last year it was around 225, but you didn't put in 225.
The things coming out of that are the 2 utilities in this fiscal year, the radio infrastructure, and then engine 2 being replaced in 2027. And even if you move the radio infrastructure out a year, it doesn't change the deposit, because 3% increase and 3% interest, they cancel each other out. So that doesn't do anything. It's the fire truck coming up in 3 years, that's the issue. Just making that so high. I'm not suggesting you don't need a fire truck, just saying that's why it is what it is.
And,
What's it do if we move that engine 2 out a year? Does that change that?
Costs more, actually.
Yeah.
Right now, it is 275,000 for a couple of years, and then it's 274 out to 2042.
Is that number for that truck in 2027 still good?
We never got I don't have an actual quote for that truck. That's
Because
what
John
we're
puts in
looking
an escalation factor versus inflation, but also an inflation fact, and a factor for how prices are going up, besides inflation,
Usually
so.
the fire truck prices are a lot more than inflation
Yeah.
when they go up, but I think we were using engine 1's price, kind of looking forward to seeing what it would cost, and then what other communities have paid recently.
It's 800 and something, isn't it?
Yeah.
800 was the 2021 number.
Can I ask a question? On there is the engine 1, engine 2, and a tanker. We have all 3 of those currently, correct? Okay.
And we have a rescue right now, but we took the rescue off of old CIP to combine the rescue and the engine, so we're down a truck.
Perfect. Do you have any recommendations that you'd suggest or think would be appropriate?
I'm okay with pushing engine 2 off if we need to. That's
Okay.
fine with me. And like I said earlier, the radio infrastructure, although I don't want to, I don't think we're gonna have enough time trying to get the information back currently.
But we would take it off of this year,
Change it all.
but it would, guys, it would take off 80,000 off of our warrant articles this year. So he's saying to,
No, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
if the entire cost of the radio infrastructure is $80,000 and he's saying we don't need to do it in 2024, we can put it on as a warrant for 2025.
But the warrant is to take the money out of the fund, moving it to 2020, 6 doesn't actually change the needed deposit.
Okay, so, because it's not coming from new funding, it's coming from old funding.
Right.
Great, thank you.
And moving the engine out a year actually makes the deposit worse.
Correct.
So that doesn't help.
So the bottom line is I will make warrant Article 5, $275,000.
That's not a bottom line I'm on board with. But do you guys want to vote on that?
That's what that means. That
So somebody can make a motion. Mr. Tappan.
John Tappan again. The only way that you can change these numbers is to change the cost of the items. Because the way this calculates right now, it's 275,000 for 2 years, and then it goes to 274 all the way out to 2042. Moving those items around will have essentially no effect.
Correct.
So the only way to change it is to either decide you're just not going to buy something, or you're going to buy something that costs less. And I'm not recommending that, I'm just telling you that's the arithmetic.
There are different things you could do. I don't know that we have all the answers to what in 2040 we're going to do for a fire truck, but it's possible that we will have combined services. It's possible there's a lot of other ways to do things. One of the things that when I go to other towns, they say that they just think is ridiculous is to save so much money so far in advance, because today's money is so much more expensive than the money then. So I just feel uncomfortable with putting so much of today's money while we're already struggling with finances and expenses and raises and all these things into something for 2040 that we could end up not needing. Yes.
that's
I did at one point consider that when you have the uniform payments that this calculates, and they are predicted to go on for a long time, then a uniform payment is not appropriate considering the time value of money. And so it should be a graduated payment. But then I realized that this payment schedule that goes for 20 years, if those inputs are valid, then this is exactly what you will need to spend for the next 20 years. And it is making the assumption that at the end of 20 years, the town of Lee shuts down, closes. But that's not going to happen. So next year, when you do your 20-year plan, you're going to be adding something onto the end of this. And that's what makes the idea of then doing a graduated. You could do a graduated just with the overrides if you want. But cutting out 100,000 is too much of a graduation.
And I'll tell you, mathematically here, if you take everything after 2027 and you make it all unfunded, we still have to put in $275,000 for the next 3 years to pay for just the things we need in the next 3 years. So it's not, the money that 275 we're putting in now is not for the engine in 2040. It's literally just for the 4 things that we have coming in the next 3 years. It's not, we're not paying for something that far out today.
Great, someone want to make a motion?
What I think we have to consider is whether or not we merge with somebody, and then we don't need it, which is a hope and a prayer.
Open to
I
motion.
understand that.
Hello.
Also with the deposit, a taxpayer, also with the deposit of 275, as a voter, I'm gonna vote no. But for 175, 150, I'd vote yes, but 275, I'd vote no.
Exactly my concern.
So if you go for 275, you've got a greater risk of not getting anything.
How do you feel though as a voter in 3 years if we have to, I don't know, jump the taxes up to pay for the new fire truck because you keep underputting money in this fund?
Oh, I completely understand
Okay.
the whole theory, but we just had a big increase, you
I
get a
understand.
larger chance of things getting passed, not getting passed.
The thing is, you have to ask yourself, in terms of John's comment, in terms of what you're putting in there, maybe we're buying things that we can't afford.
Well, I mean.
That's where I
And
think
that's what we need to
what
look
we're
at.
facing at right
because-
now.
Right.
That's the question and the conversation that we're not having,
Right.
and that's the problem. Like keeping every single historical building because we love it, like keeping every single thing the way we've always done it because that is nice and making better and better services, but not actually ever, we don't increase our revenue
Right.
unless we take it from the taxes. But we are increasing our spending exponentially, and at some point we have to say, what do we actually need to buy? And what are we doing because we like it?
Right.
Thank
Agreed.
you.
Which comes back to my comment from the last meeting that we had, that expenses have been keep going up, revenue's not. So that's why we wanted us to explore doing something with other towns in terms of combining services, because we cannot continue to do this.
Which is why
Can't
I'm
continue to
uncomfortable
do
with
this.
increasing this 175,000, because I think we need to look at this seriously. Chris?
Regan, 19-year-old drive. You're mentioning merging. I'm wondering if you could talk about the conversations that are happening and where that may lead.
One of the things that we've conversed about is in terms of managing, doing services for other towns, and one specifically Madbury. Madbury is kind of, we think, interested in doing something with us. According to one of our residents who happens to work for us, he says they're very interested, and we've tasked the town administrator to set up a meeting with us, and I believe, did they have their meeting already?
They did have a meeting on Friday, and Eric did not let me know the outcome of that.
They were going to discuss at their meeting if they were interested to progress with services, discussing, shared services.
In terms of fire or broad?
All different departments looking at.
So police, fire, transfer station, purchasing possibly, we all buy kind of the same things. Is it better just to buy it with, not that Madbury's that big in terms of using some of these things, but, and also in terms of if it was fire protection, maybe we take the southern part of Madbury and Dover takes the other part. I don't know. It's an open question, but one of the things that I've noticed over the years that our revenue doesn't go up very much, but expenses go up tremendously. And you cannot continue to do that. Because John was saying you won't be a town. Maybe we'll be bankrupt by that particular time, because you can't keep spending this way without having enhanced revenue. And the only other place, like Katrin says, to get revenue is from the tax base.
Right.
And how far can you tax the citizens
Yeah,
before they say, no, enough's enough?
it's
And
very
become-
difficult.
And I pick on Andy all the time, we become a Deerfield. They say, no, no more increases, we're doing default budget.
One of the things we're looking at is if you look in the south, they do things countywide instead of townwide. Right now, every single town is having to have, a brand new fire engine, brand new everything all the time. And those expenses are really high, so we're wondering, can we look to other models? Is there something outside the box that we haven't thought of that we can do that can, take expertise? We've got incredible people here. Can they use that expertise towards working together with someone just to decrease costs however we can? As much as our ambulance price has gone way up this year, our ambulance is a lot more affordable because we share it. There's a lot of services that could be shared. It's challenging.
It is, yeah. I really think it's a very important process to go through to try to share whatever we can. I don't know if some of these changes you're making change the actual budget that is, on this paper that.
Not that, we're just discussing warrant articles more
Okay,
right now. Yeah.
so this budget that's here, that's, if that's final for 2025.
Not yet, we're gonna go back to.
Okay, so it's got an 11% increase,
Okay.
which I don't know how much of that is covered by other than taxes, but wow, our taxes have got, I wonder how long we can live in the league, honestly.
Thank you.
Many people that are older on fixed incomes, they have to move. And that does not benefit the town at all, because when those older people that move out that don't have kids, their house is probably gonna get sold to somebody who does have kids, and that costs us even more money. So, it's not, this particular job is not easy. You probably know that. And it's hard decisions, and people, some people are like, oh geez, you made the worst decision. You can't please everybody. So we have to think we do the best that we can for the town in general.
Thank you.
And those comments are mine, not the board's. Just so we're clear.
Okay, I move we leave it at 175 and hope that we can merge.
Second, the 175. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Yes or no?
I abstain.
You're abstaining.
You got your two votes.
Bugby is abstaining. It's like my kids when they don't want to make a. Okay.
No, that's one of my bucket lists. I want to abstain on every single vote.
Great.
Perfect, great.
This is how he's greeting you.
Highway Equipment Capital Reserve Fund, a very strange 91,000. I would love to see that be a
I
new
don't
number.
think that's right anymore.
No.
That was the recommendation last week, so.
Yeah.
Do we have a new recommendation?
It's 50 something, isn't it? Or
That was
48?
60.
Mm,
It's like 59. Can we make it 60? Okay, even
7.
7, sorry. Highway Equipment Capital Reserve Fund.
Highway equipment as it stands now, 48,800.
And then what is it next year?
Make it
88,800.
50.
Wasn't 59 next year?
Until, all the way through 2038.
50. Great, that's fabulous. Bring that down to 50.
Do we need a
Yes.
motion? Make motion to change the value of the Articles 4, 7 to 50. Makes sense.
Great, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No, I decided
57.
50.
He just said 50.
50.
What's the number?
50,
50.
50 number.
All right, so that's great, we brought that down. I love it when we do that.
I will re-scramble the numbers on these warrant articles, so
Thank you.
we have a 6.
It'd be great.
Thank you.
We go from 5 to 7.
I mean, whatever. All right, number 8, Highway Department Road and Bridge Capital Improvement Plan is currently stands at 90,000. Any
200
comments?
something, isn't it, John?
Yeah, it was almost 192.
No, but that's not right. 'Cause it should be 62.
Hey, Steve.
So that 192 he's talking about is if we get 0 grants and doesn't include any of the state funding and any of the prices that,
That's never happened before, right?
yeah.
Correct.
I mean, we just, look at what we just did with the
Correct.
Chesley Brook pipe. So,
Do you feel comfortable with the 90,000?
yeah, I mean, we didn't even spend that on Chesley Brook, we spent 62, so.
Can we use any of that towards this 90 and make this a 60?
Wow. No.
No.
I would leave it, just,
Great.
but we've, not getting state bridge aid for stuff is, it's not, there's so much stuff out there with the ARM funds and stuff that,
Great. Okay.
but those numbers were just, that's what it cost to do it without any help.
Okay.
They've literally sent us money without telling us
I
they're going to send us
know.
money.
I know.
Multiple
So,
occasions now.
So I think that's fine, I mean, it's gonna screw up the FTP with what you put in, it's gonna keep saying you need to put more, but we just got 390,000 given to us.
can we put in the FPT what the traditional kind of through history percent that gets covered by grants?
I don't think so, because this last one was
But I mean, before that.
90%.
Right.
I think some of them have been
The
50% or 60%.
So could we at least put in 50% so that the FPT doesn't keep confusing everyone? And then sometimes it'll be less and sometimes it'll be more, but at least we'll have less panic about saving more.
So the big numbers that are in there are the $500,000 for all of the bridges, each bridge.
And normally we don't pay for a
500,000.
bridge on our own.
No, I mean, that's one,
Well, bridge aid is 80%, isn't it?
something like that.
Right, so can we count on some amount, at least 50, so we're not looking at the wrong numbers?
Maybe, I don't know.
So is that something we can put into the FPT?
So you're saying the total cost for a bridge is 500,000?
No, the total cost is probably 1.5.
So you've already included the difference. So then the FPT is correct if those are all the right numbers.
No, that's for the state bridge aid, I'm talking about other grants on top of it.
Okay. So when we look at the FPT and it's saying 500,000 for all those different projects,
That was with just state bridge aid, that had nothing to do with getting the extra stuff on top of it.
okay. So you're saying you don't think that we need to save 192, we just need to save this 90? Because you know that there'll be more aid on top of it.
Yeah, there should be, I mean, there's plenty of aid all over the place.
Okay. I move that we keep it at 90,000.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. So moved. We are moving along. Transfer station equipment, number 9, to see if the town will raise 90,000 for transfer station. Anyone have comments about that amount?
Can we hear from Mr. Chapman what the number is supposed to be?
Transfer station.
Do you want to look for that and we'll discuss the radio infrastructure while you're looking?
I've got it.
10.
You got it? Okay.
It's 90,000.
Great.
89,845.
I move that we keep the transfer station capital equipment reserve fund at 90,000.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so moved. All right, the fire rescue radio infrastructure, we don't know if it's gonna be this year or next year. If we vote now, then we can still do it the following year, is that correct? And it's not coming from new money, it's coming from money we already have, using it, is that correct? Yes.
Yes.
I don't know, I mean,
Do we want, right.
you say that again?
Are we, you're saying it's possible to move this out a year, and then I made a comment about moving this warrant out a year, and everyone said no. So my guess is that that means that they want to keep it in here, but we're not actually raising the money for this, it's literally just using the money we've already saved.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you, but either year is possible. But if we did it now, then it would mean that no matter what, you could do it when it's ready.
But I think we have to use it in the fiscal year,
Mhm.
correct?
At the end of this, or before the end of the fiscal year, the select board can vote to treat it as encumbered for one additional year.
So is this something we should do, or should we wait till next year when you think it's ready to actually do
If
it?
that's the case, I'd like to do it this year,
Okay.
try our best.
Can we just fix the typo though?
Yes.
Make it the fire equipment account instead of the fire.
I wrote.
Fire.
Bottom.
It's like the last line,
This
the
is
last
still a
word.
draft issue.
That's why I couldn't make sure you saw it. I just wanted to make sure you saw it. It wasn't hearing me.
So are we moving
I
it?
just saw it, so.
I can't fix it without shutting this
No,
screen
no,
down.
no, just want you to be aware.
Fix it
It's
later.
I can't spell it, sorry.
So,
I know that.
Chief, is the 80,000 correct? You were gonna get numbers for us?
That's what I was looking at and trying to get. It was, the quote we got was 67,000, but that
A few years ago.
was using a tower, a building, and a generator. And that, I don't know yet, we're still working on that.
We should leave this till next time and leave it open.
Well, it
Great.
does say not more than, so if we spend less, that's fine.
But you think it's gonna be more because we now need a tower, a generator, and a building.
Yep.
So we'll discuss this
Who's got
on the
building?
16th.
And we don't have to talk to anybody, we can just, here's the cops.
Yeah, please. I'd like to buy you cups and strings.
Perfect. All right,
I'll donate that.
but they should be fireproof strings.
I can get
I
one.
mean, safety first. Okay, the next one is number 11, the solar array project capital reserve fund. One of the things we talked about was revenue, money not coming in. Solar is actually one of the few things that can make money come in, or at least decrease the cost to the town. So this one is, I think, an odd number. I would rather put it at 35,000 for now, and you can make it more as you get closer to the
This
year.
is 25%
Yeah.
of the amount going forward that you could buy the solar arrays out for the first year they were available.
And this is a fund that can go towards that, but if for some reason there was a better option, it's really flexible.
Yeah, I left the wording generic, so
Thank you.
it was not specific to the transfer station.
So I'd like to move that we make that 35,000 for the solar array project capital reserve fund. Are there any seconds?
Second.
All right, any discussion?
I would like to strike it. Based on the other needs that we have, we can't afford this at this particular time.
This is money that makes itself more money, unlike everything else.
That's fine, but I would like us to strike it. So that was my part of the discussion.
So we can go ahead and vote. All in favor? Aye. All, aye, and all opposed? Are you abstaining?
I'm opposed.
Okay, so 2 ayes, motion passes.
Is there a reason we just have for the purchase? Didn't we discuss last time about doing purchase and repair, purchase and maintenance, or purchase, like,
Of what?
so we're setting up a new capital reserve fund, we want to be very careful of the words we use in there, so that the trustees of the trust funds are not mad when we want to use it for maintenance. Just throwing it out there.
Yeah.
I can certainly adjust that language to reflect maintenance. What I had taken out was the specific description of the transfer station.
Correct.
So it could apply to any solar array.
Any solar array, and why we add the word maintenance, that makes sense.
So,
Can't have maintenance.
Do your
But
motion.
we're gonna have a problem, so come
do
on.
your motion.
I don't think it can be maintenance because it's not a capital reserve.
No?
Go ahead.
So there are specific purposes that you can create a capital reserve fund for, and they're capital expenses.
Great,
You can also create a non-capital reserve fund,
great,
which is for non-capital expenses such as
Maintenance.
operations and maintenance.
perfect, thank you.
And I did once ask DRA if you can write a warrant to create a fund that mixes them,
I said no.
and they said they would not answer that until the town tried to do it.
So I'm gonna vote we just keep it as the solar array, whatever solar array the town deems the one to buy.
Okay, so just purchase, because we can't.
At 35,000.
Yes, thank you. I'm all about the even numbers today. Number 12, fire ponds and cisterns capital reserve fund, that is at the, what? It's not actually an even number, it's a whatever.
It wasn't even number before.
Clean cut number, okay, thank you. $30,000 fire ponds and cisterns capital reserve fund, any discussion?
Well, can we get the number? Because it's more than 30,000.
The number depends on if you do the $100,000 one for the project.
As it stands right now, the number is 30,509.
Yeah, so it
So
feels very
30,000 is
much,
close enough.
yeah,
To John's recent point, we may have to revise 13.
Oh,
Okay, we'll deal with that in a minute.
12.
he's just giving us a heads up.
Sorry.
All right, so 30,000, I move that we put 30,000 as the fire ponds and cisterns capital reserve fund amount.
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so moved. On to 13, which has more challenges now.
Yeah, I had, based on my understanding of the discussion and desires of the cemetery trustees, I had included maintenance upkeep
Right.
Could this be a non?
in there with
Can we just
replacement.
call it a reserve fund?
Yeah, but it's a capital purchase though.
But we're not, what are we,
You're
It's-
buying fencing.
right, but.
But it's replacing fencing. You're
Right.
buying it to replace, which is a maintenance item.
I can strike maintenance.
It's also
and
a
upkeep.
capital item because
Well,
it's,
you don't,
Oh, is it upkeep, is would be maintenance, I mean.
Right.
I believe there was one new fence, right?
yeah, Play Hill, it's new.
if anyone likes this conversation, you are perfect to be on the CIP committee. You should definitely join us because this is a fun game we play about what's what.
It sure is.
Go ahead.
As far as maintenance goes in that, one granite post right now costs about $300. And my maintenance budget in the cemetery committee is about $1,000, so I can buy 3 of them. If I need 12 of them to replace, I'm gonna have to have some money come from somewhere to do it.
Yep.
And that's basically what I meant by maintenance. It'd be a larger than normal purchase. Now, as far as the fence across the front of Mashway, it's deteriorated to the point where it's going to be a capital outlay. And that's why we're asking for this.
Thank you. We just have to figure out how to put the wording in the right place.
I'm not a wordsmith, that's up to you.
I know, you're not gonna fight us on
Possibly
that
if I
one.
took maintenance and upkeep up and I left the replacement of the
Replace for the
cemetery.
cemetery.
Fence, I
We can
might
ask the
accomplish it.
trustee.
Great. Everyone seems happy with that choice.
So, Mr. Tappan, in terms of what Mr. Hoyt just said, when he's replacing granite posts, are the trustees gonna think that's a maintenance thing, or is that a capital purchase? In your opinion?
There is a gray area.
Mhm.
So replacing a roof is a capital expense. Replacing just one half of a roof because it's on the south side and that's the part that deteriorated, half the roof, that's a capital expense. Patching where a branch hit and broke some shingles, that's just maintenance, that's just repair, that's not the capital expense that the fund is intended for. We have the same issue with the fire ponds and cisterns. Because that was originally written and included repair, and the understanding was we were talking about things like the repair that's required now to the one that's leaking, where it might cost $50,000, that is half the cost of a new one, you have to dig it up to repair it. And what Peter has been talking about, because he and I talked about this at the last meeting, is replacing a significant part of the fence, like the whole front of it. And I think that's a capital expense. If it's just something small, there's a repair.
But in terms of his example, it's the Grant Post.
It's the whole
If
new
you're replacing
fence.
12 of them, $600 a pop,
That's a pretty darn big piece of the total.
Yeah, he's removing all the old stuff tonight, nothing, and now the whole new fence is going in. So
I
that's
think if I
capital.
strike maintenance, upkeep, and put for the purchase of replacement cemetery fence.
I think that's great.
Okay, thank you.
Covers
Yeah.
enough.
I move that we put $25,000 at the established cemetery fencing capital reserve fund.
And we strike maintenance and upkeep.
Correct.
First.
Fabulous.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
So moved. Accrued benefits, number 14. See if the town would raise appropriate at 20,000. Anyone have any comments about that?
What's actually in the fund? Because we've got 179,000 in terms of,
But one of the things we discussed was that we only ever use about this amount. So it made no sense to keep putting in so much extra.
Your accrued benefits fund balance is what, $7,763?
Because we had a large withdrawal last year. 2 years ago?
No, but you had an addition.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm looking at that. It's actually $27,953.
Great.
Looks like.
Because we had 20,000 left from
And
last
it's
year.
even more at the end of
Yeah, it's
December.
actually $28,171.
Wow.
If we wait long enough, it's gonna be a ton, and we can spend all kinds of money.
okay.
So 20,000 is a reasonable amount according to all the statistics we've looked at to put away annually.
Okay.
I'm saying I feel that's true. Do you have a comment?
It calculates that 22,000 is what's needed, but that is based on just what has been the average cost over like the last 15 years.
Thank you.
And what has not been done is if there are some particularly higher costs in the next few years, that hasn't been calculated.
Got it. Did you have a comment?
No.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Sorry, glasses make a little fuzzy. So we could make it 20, we could make it 25, we could make it whatever you're trying to say.
I brought that. I brought that. Oh, yes, there's that.
Okay, what did you decide?
I don't know.
Second?
What did we decide?
I'm asking what number you want to use, 20 or 25?
20.
Great, I move that we keep 20,000 as the accrued benefits amount.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so moved. Contingency fund, 20,000. Any discussion?
No.
I move that we continue to make it 20,000. Any discussion?
Second.
All in favor? Thank you for seconding.
Yes.
All in favor? Aye. So moved. Revaluation capital reserve fund, I think it's technically a little more than 10,000, but that can be the last year, so we're gonna make that 10,000. I move to make it 10,000 for the reevaluation capital reserve fund.
Second.
Second, any discussion? All in favor? Aye. So moved.
Warrant Articles 17 and 18, the board have not requested to be on the warrant. The DPW director asked me if I could put these together and add them to the warrant, so.
Can the DPW director speak to this particular request?
I believe he would be happy to. Maybe.
Happy? Feels a little strong.
Yeah.
So these roads both are essentially people's driveways at this point. There's one house or one person owns all the property around them. They're dirt roads. They're both already class 6 to a certain point. So we'd just be class 6ing them at the ends of their roads. And we haven't talked to the landowners yet because I didn't know if it was, I didn't want to stir the pot if it wasn't going to get past this point.
I think it would stir a big pot, and I think we'd want to discuss it with them because there are more things.
So-
to factor in, right?
The Captain Emerson Smith one, he essentially plows it anyway, and the County Line Road, we haven't plowed that road in a decade.
Right, but the person who's plowing this is
The landowners.
the landowners, and then there is a store there, you're saying because it's owned by the, land, it's all the landowners, you're saying it should just be there.
Yeah, it's essentially their driveway.
There are two ways to discontinue a road. Discontinuing subject to gates and bars, the town retains the property right to that roadway and it remains free passage subject to gates and bars.
Which stays in line with what the rest of that road, both roads currently are. They're both already subject to gates and bars up to a certain point.
So it would just come off of your list of things to maintain as far as,
Yes.
but when they purchased these houses on these, they understood that the road was covered by the town.
Portions of these roads have already been discontinued subject to gates and bars.
Okay. I think I'm very aware of this because I lived on this only house on the end of a road, and it was a class 6, but we could not have lived there if they all of a sudden made it our responsibility to maintain. We just didn't have the kind of money. So I just want to be very thoughtful about if we're going to make a huge change that's going to impact a family, that we're thoughtful about that. So yeah, I think it would be important to discuss it with them because I don't know what we would have done.
So there's lines in here.
Because we need to go out and measure how long they are. We haven't done that yet.
He didn't want to do it if we weren't going to do it, so. to
You have
make
to
sure.
specify the portions.
You have to, so like one of them's, like County Line Road, but you can't, it's not a 2-lane road, it's 1 car width wide.
Right.
Where is that one?
Right after
It's-
the brook headed towards Nottingham on
Yeah.
152 on the left.
Cross from Beckman.
Yeah, it's almost, County Line Roads, because it's the county line of Rockingham and Stratford County, it runs,
You would, if you drove by, you would think it was the
A driveway.
house.
Oh, that's, who's Vicky's house there?
Yeah.
You don't need to say it out loud.
Rick Fleming's house.
Yes,
Or you
he
can.
just passed away. What?
Yes,
What?
I just said yes, it's Fleming's house.
Yeah, he just passed.
Do you think that, I think it'd be important for us to get the information, and then I think it'd be important for us to at least hear from the
Does
people.
it
affected.
change anything for these landowners at all?
Yes, because now they have to pay to grade it, they have to pay to plow it, they have to pay to maintain
They're
it.
already paying to plow it.
But they're not grading it and they're not making sure.
We're not really grading them either, though, that's the thing.
Can we check in with them over the next week and just?
Yeah, it's only 2 landowners.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that would be just a very,
It's 2 landowners, 1 for each road.
I just think they have a right to say something.
Let them know we're proposing this warrant article, and if they have a concern, they can come next Monday or Tuesday and share that with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Tappan, you have a concern.
John Tappan again. It also makes a change in town liability.
Yes. Thank you. So we're gonna discuss those again with more information. After discussing with the landowners, maybe we can get the feet and all that information so it's able to fill in.
Okay, this would also be the point where if I put together the warrant article for the Historical Society lease, that would come at the tail end of the warrant too, because there'd be no money associated with it. Is the board in agreement that they would like me to proceed with that?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. All right, so we did the easy part first.
Great, that was easy.
It felt easy. Now we get to do the meat of the project, the budget for 2025. Who wants to start? We're discussing salaries, make sure it's just about the overall salary and not about performance.
I would like to propose that we put in the cost of living of 2%. That seems to be the number that's off the website we usually use for the Northeast region.
As opposed to the 3% that the ABC put in?
Yes, because one of the things they also said is let's be standard, and that's the number we've been using previously.
Even though the cost of living hasn't.
Cities and towns less than, what is it? It's for smaller towns, it's 2%. That's only COLA. I think we still need to discuss other stuff, but.
Do you want to, so we're discussing what we think should be COLA right now?
Yes.
So you proposed 2%, I proposed 3%. Do you have a proposal?
You're always the odd man out or odd woman out.
No.
I think that's a good place, I think 2% is a good place to start. But I
Great.
do think we need to discuss some merit increases.
Great. I could agree with that.
That's it.
And then are we going to discuss the overall fire department increases? Because that was a large chunk as well. They were like, what do we have in here? It was 9% from the ABC committee? Is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
The initial was a little bit over 18%, and the
Your request.
ABC essentially cut it in half.
Great. So the request is 18, ABC has it at 9, as in addition to the whatever percent we decide for COLA. Does anyone want to offer any discussion about that?
Okay, so the ABC line here does not include the COLA, just the 9%.
Right.
Okay, so make sure I don't get that number.
Well, the ABC, actually, that's more than 9% because the ABC line includes
3%.
and the 3% COLA that they recommended.
Yes.
That's
So
actually-
the,
You're not getting apples to apples, you get apples to oranges.
yes. All right, are there any other group chunks we need to know about? Or are those two? Do we know the actual cost of living increase that we have in the last year?
I have the recent one in this,
Yeah.
oh, the one we had last year in our budget.
No, what is the actual cost of living for a human being in the,
December was a little over 3 to this.
Well, it depends on what you're looking at. Is this what we looked at last year?
The Department of Labor's website for the Northeast region, specifically Boston, for towns and cities that are smaller, it's 2%. I just looked at it yesterday. You can check that, just go to the Department of Labor, and you have to say, what region, and then it gives you the grid in terms of what it is.
That's what I brought to the board
Yeah.
previously.
Well, I think one of the things that came out of the ABC is, let's be standardized, let's use the same thing every single time. That's what we've been using the past few years, so.
yeah, because for a while, we didn't do increases at all sometimes, for periods of time. So if we standardize that, what you're saying is you want to go forward doing that.
Yeah, there were some years where bonuses were used and some other things instead of.
Any increase at all?
The thing that gets tricky is when the cost of living goes negative. Then
Right, but the cost of living for many, many years did not change that much, and then the past few years has changed dramatically. which is both important for the employees in the town because they need more money to pay their bills, but also the taxpayers because they have less money to pay their taxes when their expenses increase. So it's the balance between the two. No comments, nothing else, okay? I don't know where to go from here.
You'd had me write down, you had two salary lines last meeting that you'd asked me to write down recommendations, planning and zoning and town clerk.
Yeah, should we take some time to discuss individual performance issues right now, and then we can know more about what we're dealing with, cost of living, or do you want to just come up with a cost of living number, and then, like, how do we want to go forward with this?
I think we can discuss it, yeah.
Is there other budget things we?
There is default budget we are gonna get, and the draft warrants we did already, so the only thing left in the public hearing is the budget. We can discuss other parts of the budget if you want, we just don't know what we're dealing with until we know what the numbers are.
I mean, is there anywhere else that we can?
Sadly, Steve knows the answer to that
Yep,
one.
Steve's the poster child for this one.
Yeah. So Steve, last year we went ahead and did a lot of improvements and had extra money for improvements. Do we still need road maintenance at the level that it's at here in this budget? Because our budget is terrifyingly large. Sorry. Paving is what I'm talking about, yes.
Yes. Because all last year did was catch us up from years of getting it cut.
Right, but then didn't we get a better deal? We got a little bit farther ahead than we thought?
No.
We didn't.
We just caught up.
Okay. So we're caught up, and now you're saying at 300,000 is what?
That's what it is to maintain and stay on track with every 10 years and stuff. Because
Everything else?
last year, I asked for a lot. I asked for almost 5, and then we used the rehabilitate the half-mile road is the, plus the 90 to bring it down, and that was the one-time get-out-of-jail-free card with
Right.
it.
No more getting out of jail free.
And it goes up and down, so next year, next budget is projected to actually be lower, so the budget would get cut from the 300.
So we can't move any of these 1 year ahead to the next budget?
No, so I've already moved them around to reduce the price and moved roads that should be done in 2 years to next year to group them, so we don't have to pay
Okay.
more money in mobilization fees. So like Old Mill Road was on the list for this year,
Okay.
but we took it off and put Fox Garrison on the list because Fox Garrison's falling apart more than Old Mill.
Okay,
And we're already paving everything around Fox Garrison Road.
so that makes sense.
In 2 years, we're doing Newtown Plains Road. It makes sense to do Old Mill when we do Newtown Plains because it's essentially the same road and you don't have to pave, go away, and then come back the next year and just do the rest of it.
Okay.
So we're trying to lump them so they get paved all at once.
All right. What we're trying to do is shake some money loose so we can decrease this number. We're also trying to make sure we can pay everyone what they need for salaries. So we're just trying to figure out where we have any wiggle room to make sure that everyone is getting a salary that makes it possible to live. Thank you.
We're missing a warrant article.
Which is?
Are we not putting any money in to the town buildings capital reserve fund? The FPT
That
calls
was
for it.
a recommendation at last meeting when you had asked me to put that money against the warrant article. There was discussion about not funding the town building.
We decided not to do
moving
that
forward.
because we were asking for so much money for the building as it was.
But,
There are other buildings certainly that are.
yeah, there's other needs in
You
there.
can add it back in.
What is the FP? Financial planning tool,
As you've changed it now, it's at 40,628.
and those are non-town office building expenses, they're
Correct.
not going away.
You can decide to make a motion to add it back in. Or we can wait a year and deal with it then.
I believe that was warrant article 6 that was missing.
Correct.
The problem I'm having with this, I'll be honest with everybody, and usually I am, looking at the numbers that I had before, and we've raised some things beyond what I had originally, but we're looking at a 5% tax increase.
Mm-hmm.
And I cannot support a 5% tax increase.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I am. So all these things we keep adding and stuff, I think we're spending more money than we actually can afford.
I agree.
So, but we keep adding things.
You
and
just
we can't
asked
keep
to-
adding things.
You just asked to add that back in.
We haven't added it back in.
Okay.
The reason I'm asking is because usually it's in there.
Mm-hmm.
And
I
the thing
think-
is, we can't keep adding all these things. We can't keep giving that to the taxpayer.
I agree.
So, but you keep adding things, so how can you agree with me and then keep adding things? You just accused me of this.
What am I
You can't keep
adding?
doing that. All those other things that we just added, all those particular monies, we can't afford all those things.
What did we just add that you're, I feel like you're attacking me personally. Is there something I added that
No, I'm
you?
attacking the board because we
Okay.
just voted on this.
What did we
So
add?
you're talking about the solar array?
I'm
and
talking about the solar
cemetery.
array, I'm talking about the library, I'm talking about all kinds of things. We can't afford all these things.
Okay, the library, we did the same number last year, and the solar array, as I said, is something that actually brings us more money back than it spends.
I don't see how that's possible, but that's
It's
okay.
the cost of energy.
Yeah, but the thing is, you're not gonna get that until 5 years out or whenever you buy it out, so. I'm talking about here and now. If we go to the taxpayers and the tax increase is 5%, that's not good.
I don't think a $35,000 solar array is a problem. I think they're all the
It's-
numbers
no,
together.
it's all the expenses that we keep doing.
Correct.
We can't keep doing this.
So we need to figure out where to cut. Did you have something to
Well, you
add?
can cut that one, but a motion was never made to take that out.
Okay.
There was specific discussion.
There was, yes, Casper says that the building fund should not be funded this year since they want to use it towards the new building.
And somebody nodded.
So what we
Because I only wrote down the ones where I thought two of you were.
So the reason is because we're asking for a bond for a large amount of money. We're bonding more money now than we were planning to take from the capital. So to me, it made sense to not also ask for the bond on top of it, another amount of money. We could, it depends how you want to do it. I'm happy with it as it is. If you two want to add it in, then I discuss the number you want to put back into.
So, so Scott, you would like to cut the solar array. Do you also think you should cut the cemetery fund?
I don't see how we can go back to the voters and ask them for another 5% on top of the 8.7 we already tasked them with. I think we're spending more money than we can afford.
Okay, great, so
The
what are you going to cut?
The voters get to make the decision about the money that they spend in warrant articles. What we were discussing was the budget, which I have heard no cuts to. But what we're not discussing, we just finished talking about the warrant articles. So if you want to rehash them, we just did motions, went through them. But that's a choice if the voters have a right to say if they want to put money towards a solar array or the cemetery fencing. These things are options that they have. I think the place we need to cut right now is not in warrant articles that are the choices the town can make. I think it's in the budget. But if you have a number you want to offer, let's offer it. If there's something you need to remove, then we can do something we just did. But I think that is frustrating people that are sitting here because they think that something is all set and then we go back and redo it. So
Well,
that's,
it's not technically all set until we vote next
Correct.
budget hearing, so. The thing is also you're giving the misrepresentation, possibly it is not representation, that the select board recommends many of these particular warrant articles.
We voted, the two people at least voted, the select board
I
recommended.
can have my own opinion though, Ms.
Okay.
Casper, okay?
No, it's fine.
So, the thing is, we're saying that we recommend all these things, but we're overtaxing these particular people because we're spending more than we can actually afford.
So let's cut the budget. If you're upset about the library, you've already made that clear, and it's not represented as a
I'm
select
not picking
board.
on the library, I'm picking on all the things that we keep saying, oh, we're gonna spend, and we can't actually afford.
One of the biggest things is buildings, and we won't take a single building off of our list, and we've done nothing to be helpful in
What's
that.
the expense we're gonna save taking these particular
The
buildings off?
50,000 here, 100,000 here,
For
cost to
what?
keep boilers, new roofs, all the expenses, maintaining, those are very expensive. You've never wanted to cut a single building out. There's a lot of places we could take money out on things we do not need, which is not a choice we've been able to make since I've been here, and I keep trying. I don't know what else you want us to cut. I'm trying to look for ways to make more money, for us to save money. A solar array actually saves the town money. A building that we don't need costs the town money. We don't get anything out of it. We don't get a lease, we don't get a revenue, we don't get anything new from it. If we built together with other towns, we can reduce costs. We can increase revenue because we're getting an increase of money.
All right, well, I will propose removing $100,000 from the paving budget then. That's easy, sorry, Steve. The other thing that's gonna hit us hard is the salary increases. And that's even more than that's gonna push us over 5%. So, the thing is, there's nothing in here that I can think of besides the paving, which is kind of needed anyways, but this is not a budget with lots of fat in it. Which means you have to start cutting services, you have to start cutting people, you have to cut something else that's vital. And if you keep adding all these particular things in terms of things you wanna buy out of one article, you can't keep doing that. And I don't know, I'm very frustrated with the process, I'm not very happy with it.
Can you explain what you think we're adding besides those two things? What are the things you think we're adding that is making you feel this way? I don't understand.
Because in the FTP, we did not actually go through and say, actually, what are we gonna do actually, and what are we not gonna do?
We used the hour, that's all we had. We have all year, last year to work on it. We hadn't worked on it to the point where we got it, and I'm not sure we're gonna get to that before this budget. But if you would like to have another FPT meeting, if that's something that is helpful, I don't know where we're gonna cut something though.
We talked about doing the hour, and then after the budget hearing, doing the FTP again if we needed to.
Great. So what is the thing you can point to on the warrant articles here that is going to have a dramatic change from more defined FPTs? Because I've changed this.
Those particular numbers are based on what we think we're gonna do in terms of that first hour session. I think we need to go back through the FTP and say, seriously, what can we afford? Because we cannot afford all that stuff. You can't keep doing this to the taxpayer.
I am not personally doing this to the tax person.
I'm talking about
Okay,
us, there's three of us.
Feels like it though.
Well, I felt that you attacked me when you talked about the building, so, yeah.
No, I did. I thought,
Yeah, I know.
that was clear.
You call a spade a spade.
I'm calling a spade a spade.
So, so
Okay.
I think we need to go back through that. In terms of this particular budget, the only thing I can really come up with, unless we start cutting people or cutting services, is the $100,000 paving. It's gonna put us behind, but the rest of it is, you're gonna start getting rid of people, start getting rid of services. There's not too much fat in there as far as I can determine. And if we go through and start nickel and diming, we get a couple of $10,000, but that's not gonna change things in my eyes.
Do we ever get a response to what the $5,000 is for the 250th?
They're meeting on Thursday and they'll give you a list.
Great. thing in this budget that has flexibility.
Well, I motion to reduce the paving budget 100,000. I don't know if there was a second or not, if not.
There has not been a second yet.
Okay, that's fine. Then I think I'm done then, if I'm not getting support for that.
John Tappan, would you like to come up?
John Tappan again. I think there's a lot of frustration because you don't have the analysis in front of you that shows you what the impacts are, the effects. When you hear talk about money for solar arrays, you right now don't actually have the spreadsheet in front of you that tells you what that savings is. When you talk about taking $100,000 out of paving, you don't actually have in front of you what does that mean for how long each road has to go before it gets repaved, and have our public works director tell you what happens to the asphalt if it goes X years instead of Y number of years. And those are the things that I think are really needed in order to make those kinds of decisions. And as somebody who does stuff like that, and sometimes finds it fun, there are places where if someone else gives me the input, the numbers that are needed to do the calculation, I can create the tool that shows you that. And I know this is a very late date. Last thing is, if you think that more work is needed on the FPT, I have a meeting tomorrow afternoon, but after tomorrow I'm available.
You have a question?
Oh, come on in. Welcome.
Sorry, in my pajamas, I was watching from home and I just had a couple things that I wanted to participate with, and you can't do that online, so. Sorry, Amy Doherty, 5 Mitchell Road. So in regards to the paving, I don't know how much you guys got from the SB 401 money for bridge and highway, but is that something that you could utilize this year? I know that there was a couple extra payments that came in, so I think that that might be a good idea to utilize that fund. And then also, I don't know what your balance is for the ARPA funds, but I think that that's also a good way to utilize one-time expenditures this year and reduce the operating budget. Also, in regards to revenue, maybe consider transfer station fees, paying for bags. I know transfer station costs are going way up. Also maybe look into impact fees for new construction to pay for schools. And then also health insurance costs are really high. And so maybe, going into talking with Health Trust, I think that's who you use, to see about lower cost plans that you could offer to employees. And, like an SOS plan where, maybe you contribute the same amount and it costs the town less. And then also, thinking about having an accrual cap on earned time. Because I see that there's a warrant article to fund that, and I'm all for funding and saving for expenditures like that. But when you don't have a cap on accruals, oh, you do. You do now. Okay. I know a couple years ago I don't think you did. Okay. Okay, great. I think that that's just a really smart thing to do, and I wasn't sure about that. So, so just having maybe an earned time buyout cap and accrual cap. So. Those are just my suggestions.
You know a lot about these things. Where have you been hiding?
I work in Barrington. And, we take a long time. Like, we start our budget process in September.
We do too.
And, the department heads provide a lean budget to us. And so, by the time it gets to the select board, there's really nothing that the select board is suggesting to cut because it's already so lean. And I think that we do a really good job in Barrington, and so happy to help in any way, providing resources or details, but I just thought I would, this year we did take out some one-time expenditures from ARPA so that we could reduce our operating budget, and provide the residents with a lower budget, so hopefully things will pass.
Just so you know, we, in the, between 5 and 6 went through the financial planning tool, which we have, and one of the things we discussed was the remaining amount of ARPA. We have some really big problems with rotten wood around all of our windows. We were discussing using that so that it wouldn't come out of the budget for the buildings, but it would come out of ARPA funding. There's another thing you suggested we just talked about today.
SB 401.
Unfortunately, we've got about $58,000 left of ARPA funding, so we can certainly use it, but we've got more than $58,000
We use it to
worth of
offset
potential
a ton of other
uses.
expenses.
I get it.
And then there's, for the roads and paving, what we just did was take an entire project off because of that funding. So that no longer is part of our budget. So I love your ideas, just so you know. You might have not gotten to hear the whole story.
Thank you. Well, I know transfer station is a big expenditure for us. We've had a really great deal with, a contract, and in the next couple of years, our costs are gonna skyrocket, and so we're going to have to slowly implement, increase in bag fees and helpfully offset it that way, but there's just no way around it. So if you're considering working with another town, that if their people are dumping their trash here, then the town of Lee's paying for that. And so I think it's good to consider now, people should pay for their trash to be disposed of. It's costing so much. So anyway, thank you for taking the time.
Great idea. Thanks for your help.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks for coming in. All right. Where would we like to go from here? Do you want to discuss merit increases? And then we'll come back out. All right. I move into non-public. Do we have the numbers?
Do you close the public hearing first?
No, we're not closing because we're going to come back out and discuss this. So I think there's snacks.
There's snacks.
We'll try not to take too long, I promise. We'll end up in fisticuffs anyway, so. All right.
So, are you making a motion?
Yeah, what is my wording? I don't know the language. Thank you very much. All right. What is the? Okay. I move to enter into non-public session on NHRSA 91-A3, colon 3, number 2, A. Any discussion? Roll call vote. Yes. We'll back to ask again.
Spend an hour cleaning up.
Oh my goodness.
Let's think about bed.
These are delicious cupcakes, you guys.
Right away.
Not paperwork, but that's.
If I add another 200, that's when I take it and we're pressing down on all that. Just leave it off to say, I won't say anything, find it again. Well, and I think it's going to come down actually. Jill had emails to say electricity is actually coming down, so I'm not too worried about it. Yeah, our electric bill last time was like 300 bucks, and at one point it was 700, so I'm not worried about it.
Yeah.
It's good for my brain because I'm not an adder. That's what he means, that was a shimmy, and it doesn't really. But then people are saying, why didn't you increase the taxes 11%, and now you're asking us to push to? To bring back. Email about that.
This was padded too.
Well, video it.
This is,
But then they block us out.
Or even a sales tax, so that you're
oh, so there's gonna be some-
getting money from us.
Talking about my number.
True.
You're what? My number. I'm like, no, this is one bum.
Inability to pay it was based on your income. Sometimes. Right. So yeah, we bought a house for a bit.
She didn't retain that information, that's what she told me this morning. I asked her for a personal interest, I didn't retain it. I'm thinking to myself, you don't retain too much, do you? You didn't retain a person's name, call looking for me.
No, they didn't call me.
We would have our own complaints with them for long, and explain how we're done. So we're not ready to do that. She said so. This coming year. So it's gonna be going up to me, up to Denver.
Spell it out, cost.
And rent a house for like the whole long weekend on a lake. Yeah, we just did that. That's great. That'll be fun. And we're excited to come over. Oh, I know. Yeah. Me too. Yeah. We have a new game of what's it really, we haven't played it in a very long time. It's not really a big thinking game, but we'll show it. It's not do the other one too, but yeah. And not thinking like that.
All of a sudden, all the speakers turned on.
Yeah.
She took a crap at it.
On the halfway through.
I wasn't ready for it, all of a sudden she was right there, jumped.
You mean it woke you up?
Yeah, pretty much.
Or we do questions about to budget. So she
Transparent though, anybody can come to the meetings at any time.
Yeah, I would not want to commit the time when the time is, you know, actually. The treasurer's report. It's part of the agenda. It's part of the minutes. You have to run them.
Yeah, but it doesn't get put on.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't get asked.
Yeah, you could ask for it. Just can't.
Well, I think that's what we
They talk about them all in there.
And that doesn't include
to speak with them, meet with everyone,
the biggest part of our budget.
break down the budget, who's paying for what.
They're gonna find why maybe it's not gonna be a huge increase because we already had a huge increase. It's not really. And it's useless. And we charge too high. Go to all the schools. It's useless. Because they never change anything. They never listen, they never change anything. They just, and the people like common knowledge or whatever. So
You're here all night tomorrow.
people who have kids in schools.
It's gonna snow, there's gonna be winds
Then
and
when the
hell.
kids graduate, they move. So, yeah. They don't know. It's hard, you know. I was on the housing committee, I mean, there's nowhere to live. We can talk about this tomorrow too, but we think about what are we gonna do? And redoing the whole thing downstairs and making it nice. You know, if this big thing allowed everything to put into this, it would be fine, because it just ups the value of it.
Okay, so they just took
So you can move it upstairs.
consideration that you're interested
Yeah, I know what you mean. I know, we did it with only like, it was upstairs. 35 or 35,000 or something, just to. I know this. I think they get it down to, you know, right at the bottom. I know, we thought about it. Yeah, taking the tub out and putting in a walk-in shower. So it was huge, it was like 30,000.
Oh, they might be.
They were both the same, and then some, I have no idea.
They might be.
So we had Martin Thornton come in and put in the lane.
Well, and I did like the last meeting, which is, I thought we approved it, but I'll speak tomorrow.
He said he doesn't like this chart. He sent me, he got this.
I have proposals, which we will discuss tomorrow.
What they pay before we move to Yes. So I figured.
I know, hence our proposals.
We had such a good time driving all together.
Oh, I
skiing.
yeah.
Oh my God. I could have a really good friend, you know, we should talk about all sorts of things. So I sent a text the other day after skiing, and I said, as much as I just really enjoy riding with you and spending time with you. And what else I said?
Where'd you live, Steve? How far?
I'm like,
Did he think you were?
I don't know, I didn't mean it that way.
Tom, how far are
So
you?
next time I see you,
Where's Tom?
like,
He's closer.
How far are you?
all right.
I'm a mile and a half.
I can
Quarters of a
read
mile?
anything.
Yeah, you're close.
Right, maybe did he not see it, or he
That makes-
you know, maybe he just got. No, he responds all the time, whenever I text him. So thank you for helping him out with the songs.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because we were baking bread and I didn't see it.
I like it, Bob.
Yeah.
He lives in
Yeah, it
the
was
town,
like-
he lives in Alameda,
We
3
walked out
times
to
a
the
year.
end just to make sure.
That area, and that should just be your own thing, get out of the service.
And I wanted to get it out before the snowstorm came, so.
I live in the hollow. You live in the hill, I live in the hollow.
Yeah, we went there too. And then it's gonna rain.
Oh, she doesn't know.
I
Amy.
I almost looked at the old.
know. I did, I went skiing twice today. It was so much fun. And I went to River Park and Sun Trail. So that was fun. And then I went to Odiorn. Have you? Oh, we'll have to stick. We didn't go to Majestic Park.
Yeah, she lives in the first house on the picture on the left. She lives like right across the street.
Go science.
She was right next to
Oh, yeah, that's a great place. Yeah, oh, I'm sure.
that house they just built in the field.
So we skied around on the trails. Yeah, it was really nice. Because you're right by the ocean and the waves. Oh my gosh, it was wild. Yeah, the waves were.
So it's the building, if you're going, you should go.
I know, I don't want to. My alarm goes off.
I don't wanna be, I wanna be going to Rochester.
Yeah, see you tomorrow. Yeah.
Is that a good number or bad?
They have to.
I didn't realize it wasn't being used
Thanks.
anymore.
Different. Scott loves it.
Not every day.
I wouldn't mind doing pay-as-you-throw in this town, but people lose that money.
Had 11.
Wow.
Years,
You have to hire
When we went to pay
an
it.
actual, you have to hire a full-time, like
person just to look at it.
Remember when we went to pay to get rid of stuff?
But if it's
Frank
random.
Reinhold was a selectman.
Oh, gosh.
Because he
If it's-
implemented that. You know, it used to be free to get rid of your couches and TVs and things like
Oh,
that.
yeah.
That's what I mean.
If you
Yeah,
run
yeah.
pay as you throw, right, it pays for everything.
Yeah.
Pays for trash removal, all the insurance and the people's pay in the dump.
And then people would get their money back on their tax end.
It also forces people to recycle, because they're gonna think about what they throw in the bag and
Exactly.
charge $5 a bag.
Right, they don't want to fill the bag up as much.
But like, that's what Barrington does, it pays for the entire
Yeah,
thing,
it's a great idea.
but.
$6 for the small bags of selling.
I know in Barrington, they didn't have pay by bag.
Yeah, you can
No,
get
it
the,
is.
you can get the bags at Habershon with your stuff.
I think Dover's 5 for a little and 10 for a big.
Oh, you mean, wait, what are you talking
You buy bags.
You lived in Barrington, you can get paid every day,
Yes.
right?
about?
No,
they're
for
not.
a package.
It was fine.
Which one package? It's $20 for a package.
And, but it increases your recycling revenue, so if,
Where did those come from? They're over there, they just said there's.
Rebecca made them.
Rebecca made
She
them.
made them?
Yeah, she did, isn't she
Are they
amazing?
chocolate? Yes.
Get over there, honey, go.
Take two, they're cheap.
Are there any white ones? Any vanilla ones?
I don't know, but I should put the boxes
Yeah,
out
pay as you
here.
go is great, it's just,
No, they're all chocolate.
it's hard to implement because no one wants to, they look at it as a tax increase when in reality the taxes will go down.
Does she make those to sell?
She does, she sells cake, she sells cupcakes, and she makes a lot of them for,
I'm gonna say you figure them all
I
out.
don't know what
you
company
gotta-
it is that she donates them for, but some
I'll take that one.
Freedom Cafe and something else, yeah.
You going tomorrow morning?
Don't take that
Thursday,
Thursday.
because we started at Planet Fitness today. So I'm gonna go on Thursday.
Oh, it's on the right.
Thanks.
I see, there's like a little A-frame sign they have, it's not good.
I'm excited, she's gonna be
I
able to
don't like
start up.
sweets.
I am too.
So Barrington bags
I
are
don't know.
$17 for a package of 10 for large.
near the level.
Small bags are 12,
I'm a little nervous.
package of 10, so $1.70 a piece
She'll
and
be good,
$1.20 a piece,
though.
that's nothing.
But it forces people to not, to think about what they
She
put in
had
the
surgery
bag.
on her.
You know what I mean? They're not gonna take up all that space with a milk
Yeah.
jug.
Right.
She was overly positive about when she got shipping ready.
I knew something was going on because their transfer station actually started asking about the people what their new contracts with waste management.
So Deb said that too?
Because
When did she have it?
we just went up
Did she have both
$3
fees?
a ton
She did both feet at the same time.
last week.
Oh, I know my friend who's the chair of the Barrington trustee, she's only, she got 1 foot.
Went to $81 a ton to get rid of garbage.
Prices are hard.
Yeah.
When I first started 5 years ago, it was
She's got 4 more
$64 a
weeks
ton.
to be off her foot.
I don't know how to go.
By the end of the new contract, it's up over 100. What are you writing?
Is it, what kind of frosting is it? Is it that,
Just freaking go like this.
buttercream?
Yes.
Not yet.
At some point.
End of December, official
Yeah, that's what she started doing.
I'm done as a regular member.
So
She had 32 years. She can't walk. What's
She
the
was,
deal?
I don't know, she
John,
said
she
she
went
might try
to
driving.
one point. You know, talking about this, he said, it's like your life. Yeah, whoa. That's an interesting, I didn't know. So, I'm still gonna continue as an active volunteer. Yeah. So there are certain things that I consider
Pete, I
unfinished
can send it to them
business.
tomorrow, we have them.
I was gonna say, we've got a
We have the quotes, we have quotes for
I
both
mean,
fences.
they're ongoing, to have part of
We have
what
quotes
Cassie
for Clay
does.
Lane and
There's
Lee
always
Hill.
something new. That's
problem is neither of
Yeah,
them want it.
Ludius Max keeps getting, you know, kind of pushing. And on the other side, areas.
But they gave us a rough price, but I have the quotes, I'll email them to you. Because I gotta email you the other stuff, that I'm gonna do it tomorrow.
Actually, not necessarily so. It's more, for the stewardship standpoint,
So I just.
Joe Ford and the Five Corners.
And when the parents said she couldn't run.
Others know even about it, but I know more than anybody, she's getting that information out to other members and bringing them to
It's not huge, but
But,
$2,600 less.
so I don't have a particular, there's certain things that we do, but, and I told Bill, like,
Yeah, no, I-
see how it plays out when it passes. So obviously the advantage of being volunteers is that you used to say, no, I don't think I'm going to, you know, I don't think I'm gonna go to that meeting.
Right, yeah, you do what you wanna do when you wanna do it.
Right, not to,
this meeting may be over.
so anyway, I will, you'll definitely see me around. In some cases, it might seem like
Oh, you're doing it very voluntarily.
right,
Not that you weren't before.
there's so many, like anybody else, so there's so many things that either need to or want to do in their personal life. We have 36 acres. I've spent some more time out there. We have lots of our own home
Oh, they make it
projects.
Yeah.
Very good.
So,
They're finishing school this week.
yeah,
Oh, I'm gonna
I'm
say,
enjoying it
come in
already.
finally.
They came today, they came in, what day is it? No, it was Monday, they came in Friday, but Friday, all day, doing a tour. We had a complete sound Friday, we sounded today, and apparently we finished by Friday. I thought the 4 would be the last thing to be done, but, right, I did.
Food on their way out the door.
Right, that's what I thought, it'd be like paint walls, roof, paint, everything else, bathrooms,
It's a big messy cupcake.
They'd be afraid
A
of
cookie.
Spill stuff,
Right.
spilling and
Yeah.
drop something.
Uh-huh.
salt falls on the other side.
Right, yeah, I
Especially
genuinely was
fresh
like,
paint.
well,
When have you finished your
and then you can't go away for 5 days apparently, so if they said Thursday, maybe we could go in there for 5 days, so we wouldn't be able to go in there anyway, we could come in then, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, so probably Wednesday,
I'm afraid you don't have any village.
right? Yeah.
Is he
Mind
working
you, not, you
Thursday?
have to go.
Yeah, I forgot one guy was doing it this year, last year, I don't know, 2 people shut
Down.
the
Front door now, be.
Jump.
Okay, good luck with that.
I just stayed doing it, we were running around all morning doing our own things.
I'm dainty, but not that dainty.
They want to buy some commercial property.
I'll piggyback, jump over with you on my back.
I know.
That I'd like to see.
All these streets.
I was being polite.
They can't find land, they're looking at land in Upping now.
See, look, I need more money, my foot's falling apart.
I'm sure that's like one of how many dozen coats that you have.
I mean, I don't have many coats actually, that's why they all look like this.
They wanted.
Well worn, that's all.
Well, I have multiple dresses and boots.
They wanted.
So that
There's a boots you have.
I have about 20 pairs.
No pie.
And about, I'm gonna say, including my summer dresses, 200 or skirts.
Amazing.
They're not gonna do anything, can't find land.
Can I have today?
3 acres.
I support the town of these town center project.
Yeah, you.
Oh.
Scott did it.
Here, Pete. Pete.
Yeah, they were at the, Billy Fair. Yeah.
I haven't drank in 2 weeks.
You are right?
No.
Yep. Call 911. Wow. Are you kidding?
Oh, started to have trouble. I drank a bottle of whistle pig like a day and a half.
What is whistle pig?
So they didn't work on,
It's
didn't
wild.
put the hole in your ceiling today. When are they gonna do
It's
that?
so
So they
good.
were trying to work around when the electric's being done, which was
It's-
supposed to be
it's in
tomorrow.
Vermont.
Now they're cancelled tomorrow.
Whistle
And they're coming back
Yeah,
on
it's
the
wicked good whistle to
22nd.
make it in Vermont.
But I didn't see, so I saw Jeff briefly this morning, who's filling in for John. But he was talking to the floor guys who were there this morning. I saw
You had a band
SMP, Jason and Ryan was there. They were, well, they were supposed to be together, and Jason and Ryan were running late, so they literally passed each other on the way, so.
Yes, I mean,
didn't
That's
get
an
to
old
meet.
lady drink.
this big,
Um,
$60.
So, because I think
That's,
they're gonna be.
It was on
setting
sale
milestones
before
to-
Christmas at the liquor store, so I bought it.
They're kind of stuck because
So
they
you
need to
haven't
know
drank since-
if we're moving forward
seriously
with the
since
lift
Christmas?
shaft.
Good job.
But we can't move forward with the lift shaft until milestone brings back a plan. Hey, if you don't want the bottle, I'll bring it forward.
You're doing fine, keep it up.
So he's like, I'm trying to wait to see if we need to move all this stuff, so I said, okay.
But I
So he
bought
was
a
gonna
bottle
get back in
of
touch with milestone about that.
Tito's and a bottle of Whistle Pig at
Um,
Christmas, and they were both gone by Christmas. I bought them the
So
Friday
yeah,
before Christmas, and they were gone.
really, weren't there for very long. And then I
Because
mentioned to
drinking's
Jeff
out
about
of, drinking's out of control.
I just said
needs
it's
to come
getting
out of my
back to
office,
full.
what else needs to come out of my office? Jason said.
So is this electrical work
Good
trying
job.
to get done?
I couldn't.
It's three times, so Eversource
Yeah.
cancelled the first time, then it was,
Drink like
Oh, yeah.
then
2
it
bottles of
was
whiskey a week.
Then it was
the other
raining.
guys, no, then it was, no, it was, what the other guys called? Long Champs, then it was Long Champs,
Like
and then it was
seriously,
just like his
yeah.
Eversource.
Don't you have headaches in the morning?
So,
I got a lot of problems.
but it's not holding, so I said to
There's usually
him,
3 of
Jason,
us
is
in
it
the
holding up
office.
anything? And they said, no, it's outside work, it's not holding up anything inside, it doesn't matter.
I can't even walk in that building without that big.
Right.
Of something.
Electricity will be off.
You knew
Yeah.
that when you hired him.
And
You
if they
think-
want
you
my
should have heard
office
about the radio
beforehand,
last night.
I mean, there's
Snowstorm
tons of stuff I
funny
can do
about my neon
elsewhere out
hats
of
and
my
everything.
office, I can move my computer.
What do I need
Basically,
hats
I need
for?
to, I can do stuff anywhere, it's no up on my laptop.
Hey, do you like my call sign I gave myself?
I did, we loved it. So did everyone else, we just kind of ignored it. I heard it, as soon as I heard it, I said, I know who that is.
What did you
I know.
say?
Nothing.
Come on.
We loved it, every minute of it. At that point, we needed something.
We needed something, I mean, we were running on fumes at that point. Ben got 27 hours.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, there's only 5 funds that don't have.
I think I had like 22.
I was showered into my flannel PJs by 2 on the couch and loving every minute of it.
It would have been one thing if it all just come at once, but that wall for 5 hours in the
Right.
middle of the day, and then it snowed, and then at 8 o'clock, we're trying to go home, it snowed harder at 8 o'clock.
Well, that's because you got on the radio and said, well, it's letting up. And Warren said, yeah, it's just that Hallmark snow now. And then Hallmark let us have it.
We nuked them though, they blackened up good.
That little hot break is up fast. What?
He's playing back our live stream.
That's funny.
Yes.
So, you're asking.
Yeah, just a small little lead.
I just picked this.
No one's talking to you.
I know. Party pooper. Fun sponge. Yeah, that little hopper on that pickup truck empties fast.
Yeah, it does.
That's the vibrator, because they bridge to
Oh, really?
Yeah, the big one that goes in the red truck, we bought a vibrator for, so you can turn it on.
Oh, really?
Because a lot of times it'll go empty hopper, yeah, it'll say empty hopper, but the back still has a bunch in it.
They have
When I filled you up, when you came back, you still had a bunch in the back of the, that's why the back of the square overfilled like that, because there was still a bunch in the back.
Yeah, we probably gotta put a vibrator on that.
On every warrant article.
It's already wired.
Right, oh, you
Literally put it
no.
on, plug it into the.
They struck it. They struck it, I think it was the library. It needs to say when it's.
Frank Hardman's trying to, I saw it on Facebook, Frank Hardman's trying to sell one of the
It needs to say they don't recommend
joysticks.
it.
Four pins for the Fisher plows, and he wants it used 250 times.
While you're here, instead of having.
Well, they're
it when you're not
$500
here.
brand new, it's a pretty good deal,
Right.
especially if it works.
It has to be properly authorized, so it's like, where's the agency?
So library warrant article, Rebecca made a motion to take off the select board recommends, by law, it has to say whether they recommend it or they don't recommend
And we have to have
it. So it has to be
documentation.
revisited.
What time is this supposed to start?
Like 6 or 7.
When the select board recommends it or not, it has to be on there.
Never knew that. Where'd you go to the last year, the website? Oh, yeah, just on the town website.
Right, but two have to recommend it too, and you missed it.
Transfer station. Sometimes I try.
With him leaving.
Previous permits, yeah.
Well, because they probably said,
Sorry.
hey, we need to pay these people.
Don't care what we have before we go to what I said. Like a head checks. That's all I have to do.
I don't see it, I'm like 11 talking.
We're gonna get a grant from you.
No, but we still have to, they said the total project's $1.7 million.
I'll go wait till I'm.
No, I'm just being smart.
I know you are.
It said something about 500,000 from the town.
Where they're taking part of $1.7 million from the town
They
building.
reduced it to.
The septic alone's gonna be $100,000.
Just to do Chesley Brook was 400.
Right. To
And that was
remodel a
one-
bathroom.
That was
needs
one
to-
little pipe in there.
Right.
So I don't know.
Yeah, they get
I
us in
haven't
like
seen it. I don't know.
an inch or less.
Right.
Yeah, it's gonna change over to heavy rain and
Yeah.
like 50-mile-an-hour winds.
God, we should run.
That's what we need.
Right? Well, thankfully, there's not a lot of snow on the range.
He's lucky we're on camera.
A lot of it came off today.
Right?
I might not even do anything with it, Tom, but it's gonna get up to 50 degrees and rain like that. I don't even think
Rain's
I'm
just gonna
gonna,
wash your stuff off the
I
road.
don't even think I'm gonna do anything to them.
If we don't get ice, we'll be fine.
Right.
The dirt roads are gonna be scary.
They always are, that kind of, under those conditions. But
Whatever
it's-
snow's on and when that rain hits, it's just gonna turn into a sheet of ice, and the ground's frozen, and it's gonna turn into an ice skate.
It's gonna be warmer though, isn't it?
That doesn't matter, but the ground's still frozen
Grip that.
That's true.
until the air temp gets into the 40s. It's not gonna
Dirt
be
doesn't
fun.
absorb like tar.
No, it just runs off and it just glaze right over.
As it runs, sheets and sheets freeze.
And I just keep drinking
A lot
cola.
of snowmobiles going up for sale.
I can say to the end.
They're not even riding up in Rangeley or anything.
I will keep it posted.
There's, I saw an MUR the other day, the trails aren't open.
No, because I'm on the Northwood Sled Talk, and they're like, yeah, maybe after this storm, on
She's
Wednesday,
very-
You're not
maybe
gonna
the
take
trails
one
will
for,
open.
They're calling for over a foot up in the mountains.
Yeah, but you need, I mean, a foot of snow, once you pack it down and groom it, it's nothing. It doesn't even really give you a good pace.
You groomed the 10 inches
I
we
know,
got
I ate
the
a
other
lot
day
of sugar
down.
Right.
And by the time you run it over,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
that's nothing.
Good night,
It's
Ian.
gotta become ice.
Have a good night, say hello to Paul.
We'll see, say hi, I love you.
He's missing the fun.
I'll see you Wednesday.
Yeah, see you Wednesday. I had to come to the library for something besides the meeting on Wednesday. I can't remember what it is, but,
Oh, don't forget the,
oh, the supply list, yeah.
what kind of yarn do you need? Wool, is it wool or yarn?
Wool.
What's the difference?
Yarn is what you knit with, wool is what you braid to make a rug
Oh.
All right,
for.
how would I know if you've got any, because we may have some. I bet
I
you did.
had, no, so I had it set up to call forward off that phone to my cell phone, and she didn't call.
Wool
Whoever it is.
Fabric, like
Okay.
this.
What the person.
Oh, I see, okay.
I don't mind calling her. She's the one that did the petition warrant article last year, about how much the tax impact is.
And,
Yeah.
and
Oh, okay.
Penny Claire
On the
does.
thing.
No, not Penny Claire,
She was the one who wanted me to do this.
oh, was it? Oh, no,
Yeah.
she's seen it.
She's very good, but she
About,
has, I think she's finance.
I thought she was looking at it.
Yeah, I think so.
I can't remember. I'll email you, let you know.
Yeah, Andy's talking to her. Yeah, she's very good, she's very good at what she does.
The question she's gonna ask me is about,
So we look at parking
Yeah.
lots.
Yeah.
About what?
Just how, what you do, like, who does what. I told her.
Karen does it.
Who?
Karen does it.
I said the highway department.
I breed some ant killers.
And
Let 'em
Oyster
go.
River, does Oyster River still do summer maintenance to the fields?
Let them fly.
I don't know. I can't remember.
It's after 8.
I have not retained that information. Yes,
Yes.
all part of that MOU, RYA pretty
Yeah.
much does everything. We just mow it.
That's what I told her when I said confirm
And we
with you.
pay for half the electricity and then RYA pays for all the sprinkler stuff and then all the fertilization and stuff. But that's just fields.
They're
Denise,
talking about doing something over
that's
there.
just the fields.
Yeah.
We do everything else. So if it's playground wise, it's us. Pavilion wise, it's us.
So the next one is Tuesday, the 16th.
They're looking into doing something over in Barrington.
So if they want to revisit FPT, they could do it.
Don't do it.
Thursday,
Yeah,
Friday.
exactly.
That park is, you should have seen the gaggle of people down there with snow blowers. cleaning.
Gaggle?
big work.
For me, it is.
Huge work, yeah.
They took a snow blower off the back of the truck, snow blowed a path
Pickleball court?
over the bridge, all the way to the pickleball court, double wade wide and snow blowed the pickleball court.
You did that? I don't really
It's like-
think they should do that.
I'm just telling you,
It's a
that's what they
liability.
did this morning.
That was just people in the town.
Yeah, pickleballers.
Isn't
Well, yeah, there's a
that
lot of
like
snow out there this year, usually they just shovel it. But
Isn't
this-
that a
today they-
liability?
Today they snowballed.
Oh, they've got to be fanatics.
Isn't that a liability?
I don't know, they're a recreation chair.
That's no more of a liability
I didn't-
than what the other things happen.
Snowblowers are dangerous.
You only eat fingers.
Listen.
You got 10 of them.
Karen, I just want you to know that. the
Oh, I
dog-
want you to
your-
know something
Your,
too.
your dog poop bag that you left outside, that went through the snowblower, broke a shear pan off of it this morning.
Dave was telling me that, I laughed.
At our building?
Yup. I don't know, talk to Karen.
Wasn't done.
What was it?
No, I wouldn't think dog poop would break a shear pit.
I don't know, whatever it was.
It was
that-
frozen, Mike.
She knows what it was.
Oh, man.
It wasn't those pumpkins, was it?
I don't know anything.
Yeah.
I'll bet.
Broke the snowblower.
Because it was a frozen.
Something left over from an event.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he hit it with a snowball, broke the shear pan.
She
It
made
didn't slow down when you drove by today.
All right, motion to seal the non-public
Second.
meeting.
Second.
Roll call, Rebecca Hawthorne.
Yes.
John Casper, yes. So, all right, so do you want to go through what we?
Yeah, so after much deliberation, we are looking at voting on a 2% COLA overall, a 7% increase for the fire department, and then merit increases as discussed in the non-public with the town administrator.
That's where we are right now. No, that's great.
I will incorporate those changes in the budget and get you fresh copies.
Thank you. All right, so I'm going to close, do I not close? Close the second hearing because we'll be opening the third hearing. So I'm going to close the public hearing right now. We'll move on to regular business with the town administrator.
At this stage of the game, I'll move to no regular business discussed in the budget.
Great. Do we have a plan for when we are meeting with the building? Carino?
We do, and I do not have it with me.
Okay, and I had a couple of questions about dates, just because I have some challenging weeks I'll be away right before the election.
That's not allowed.
Yeah, so tell my kids that.
I understand.
It's perfect.
Continue.
All right, so are you gonna be okay?
Probably not.
We're just gonna go ahead and pretend that you're not dying there. And keep moving on. So we'll discuss maybe upcoming calendar dates at the next meeting, which is the 16th.
We can, and I will put together, we've got somewhat of a master schedule that I will email.
Perfect.
I can do that tomorrow.
Sounds great. And you'll let us know what the plan is with Carino.
Yes, the one thing I will mention is the end of next week,
Okay.
the 18th and the morning of the 19th, I will be out.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Absolutely,
Oh, yes.
let's do it. I move that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
I'll pull it up. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. That's the integrity.
So, and we need you to make a motion, oh, did you make a motion to accept the minutes?
Yes.
We
And I
did.
did not.
Yep, that's
So,
done.
Grant.
No old business right now, any new business? No, and we've already gone into done. So I think that's it for now. Next week we'll be having another meeting on the 16th. We look forward to seeing you. Move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? So moved.
A fresh one.
Tom?